I know. That was not, okay, I'm just distracted out because this is starting, and I thought that she was telling me now she. I try and. Do this thing right.
You start down from you start down with marathon.
Start down what?
Steps.
They're right here. Everything's right there.
Where?
Right there on the counter. Alright.
How comes as the others?
Well. Parker had some, you had some, there's the truffle ones if you want them.
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2.
The mic's not working now?
I don't think it's that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I tapped the mic, that mic and.
Test.
Reboot the Shure device. Well,
Rebooting.
Do you have any agendas? Oh, never mind. Right, good.
test.
Y'all wanna give me a copy? I can run downstairs.
You can start it and call loud.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go grab my computer, transcription won't work. Right on the minutes.
It happened.
Here's another.
I'll be right back. I'll be right
That's
back.
where they plug into. Do the switch one more time. Take a few minutes. Let's do the switch. Hello. Okay.
All right, sorry for the delay. We're going to call the Town of Somerville's Design Review Board for June 26, 2025 to order. Becca, I think you had a request for an agenda change.
Yes, if we could move the two items under new business to the top of the agenda, they are minor items that should take just a few moments rather than the other projects we have.
Okay, I'll make a motion for that. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Is there, would someone like to make a motion for approval of the May 22nd meeting minutes?
I'll make an approval to approve that, please. Make a motion to approve.
There's a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ready. Okay, so first up is 231 Old Trolley Road. And if you would sign in and state your name, please.
Podium.
There isn't a sign-in sheet over there, but I have Daniel's information.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel, I'm just gonna go over the staff report real quick, and then if the board has any questions for you, they can ask them. This building is located at 231 Old Trolley Road. It was fully painted. The applicant was unaware that there was a requirement for DRB to approve the building. It is also somewhat not visible from 231 Old Trolley Road, but fully visible from Community Road, which, jumping back to this map overview, is shown right here. This is the building where my cursor is hovering. This is a previous picture of the building. And here's the building. I will say the pictures look a little dark, but I believe, as in the staff report and indicated by Daniel, that it is Dakota wood green. The applicant is also interested in installing some garage doors, which, again, this front is directly behind the building facing Old Trolley. There's an example of the doors, and I will hand it over to Daniel if he wants to talk a little bit more about the building and the property itself.
Okay, if anybody knows the history of the building, I think Mr. Boucher might, but the building's come a long way. What I'm looking to try to put in is a coffee shop. And I'd like to put Clopay glass garage doors instead of the white garage doors that are on it, and then a basic commercial glass door going in the main entry between the two garage doors. That's really in a nutshell. Oh, something else that I couldn't get in the last minute. I am trying to put architectural awnings over the garage and the main entrance door to give a little architectural appeal. And then I think the best signage would go above the awnings that come off those garage doors. And one last plot twist. Oh, here's my associate coming right here, right now. Perfect timing. Is we would be interested in putting a little bit of a mural on the side behind that, where that car is parked there. With it being a coffee shop, obviously you can hand them out to the boards. The coffee shops, as you guys have seen, and Coastal Coffee downtown and all that art is a common theme with a lot of coffee shops. So it would be nice to have like a a floral design on the side. This is a poor rendering of best effort at Photoshop, but it would be kind of a vine tropical print on the side. It wouldn't be, tacky. As you can tell by the lovely lady here, she's very design, appealing and all that. She is a designer, and we thought it would look good to put something on that big open space on the back of the barn wall there.
Does that mural have any signage on it or letters or anything?
No, it's just going to kind of break up the pattern of the hardy plank there, and just some vines and whatnot. It's kind of, can you get a little bit of a grasp from the printout?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit of a, yeah, it'd be centered, of course, too. It would be approximately 6 feet by 9 feet.
So is this the existing building that
Yes,
is
sir.
newly painted?
Yes, sir. That's the Dakota wood screens.
And
Yeah.
where you mentioned some awnings over?
Yeah, the awnings
garage.
would come off at an angle over the garage doors.
Can you explain what they are?
It's
metal?
like when you walk into this building, it's just it would be a umbrella type fabric awning, like a black awning. Yeah, I think there's pictures of that as well. So it's very common in, modern architecture. I think I even saw one coming up the steps actually on this building. So, so something to give it a little bit of, I guess, design on the front. It certainly would help with people coming in the building as well from, I guess, the awning perspective of
And
rain.
what is happening with the front building? Are you eventually going to paint it to match? Does it say?
I haven't decided. It's been a progress and work that this whole property has, homeless people were living in it when I took it over. So right now, I think aesthetically it looks really good. I have no plans for the front building right now, but
Is it zoned for commercial?
yeah, I've had commercial tenants in it, and one. Actually, I'll own both of these businesses as well. I own the property, and I'll own both of the businesses running out of this.
So let me ask.
Two improvements.
You're going to put glass type commercial doors where the
Yes, ma'am. They'll be functioning garage doors.
garage,
So on a nice day, those doors could open up and just open up the space.
there'll be an awning over each of those.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the smaller windows where the car is parked? Are you doing anything to those?
No, I was going to just paint those black, like the back of the garage doors painted like it's called green black by Benjamin Moore. So I was just going to, that white kind of sticks off, that pops off that green a little too, I don't know, it's maybe a little too contrasting. So I was just going to paint those black.
Okay, and Chris, I don't know. I mean, does he have to identify where he's parking and things like that, or are we just doing color?
I can answer that. I've been working with Daniel to get him on the TRC schedule. Because there will have to be parking improvements to do the change of use from vacant to coffee shop. He just wasn't aware of those processes, so we're working on that.
Okay.
When he does go through that process, if there are other changes that would trigger DRB review, he'll have to come back. We've discussed that. The parking on the site is pretty much existing. It just has to be delineated. So I doubt it will have to come back before y'all for any major items unless anything changes.
All right, thank you.
I can speak to that a little bit. Is the let's see, can you go back to the first white picture, Becca? Or maybe even there. There's this property wasn't built commercially in the 40s or whatever. This was actually changed zoning due to Charlie Road's development and whatnot. So I think the best parking would be going down the side. And right now, the thought is, and I've put some black trough planters out to kind of follow off that garage to the back to where that little van is, and just line up parking going where the plantation mix is. I've counted like 10 parking spaces that we can get in there, and just use a railroad tie as a stop mechanism.
But Becca, my understanding is he's gonna work with you, and if it needs to come back to us, then you'll come back to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or concerns from the board? All right, we'll call for the, can someone make a motion, please?
Make a motion for approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? So the approval would be for the mural of their choice, colors, and the awning,
Right.
including the colors, okay? Any other items would be worked out with staff and brought back if needed.
Correct.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All righty, thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon, Becca.
Next is 4488 Ladson Road.
All right, to go over the staff report for this, this is in the same shopping center as Stars and Strikes. The applicant had submitted a permit for the multi-tenant signage to be updated. It appeared that at the time in the permit package that the tenant signage would be internally lit, which is not permitted under the current ordinance for, multi-tenant signage. There was also an excess of sign area in the proposal. Unfortunately, I think there was some miscommunication and the work was completed without permit. Here is the previous sign, some states repair. Let me get a better picture. So here's the previous sign, and then this was the proposed design. And then the picture shows as installed. And then I believe we have the sign contractor here to answer any questions y'all have.
Hi, I'm Linda. Linda, is the size of the sign equal?
It's the same size, it's the same sign. The only thing that changed is the cladding around it. The sign itself has never changed. Other than the faces, because it was pretty broken up.
And
It's been
they-
a 5-year ongoing project. And it just.
And the original sign has a lot of colors in it and all.
Correct.
Does your existing sign have that?
No, it's all one color. All the tenants will be one color, as you can see on there. That's required. And it also has, we weren't gonna light it, then we were, and then, anyway. It, is blacked out on it's opaque, if you will, on the background of the sign. So only the edges around the letters light up.
Lights and Overbrook letters or the individual town?
Oh,
The sign's not gonna be lit at all.
no, they want it lit now. They want it lit. It was originally lit. Then it was, the power had gotten cut from it and then they restored it unbeknownst to me. So they would like to request. That's why I opaqued it with the background. So it would have minimal light.
So sign panels, individual sign panels will light up,
No,
Just the
no.
lettering.
just the lettering.
Mm-hmm.
How does black light?
It lights around it, like it shadows around it.
It's a halo is what it's considered by contractors.
Right.
It's a halo light. So the back side of it will be opaque, but there's a little bit of edging around the individual letters.
you.
So when the light shines through, I've done signs before. That's why I know this.
Lights and Overbrook, those letters light up.
Also backlighting, it's considered halo lighting. So you won't see it, the light source directly. It'll glow behind it is probably the better phrase.
Rebecca, what was the concern from staff in terms of lighting?
So multi-tenant signage is not permitted to be internally lit. This was an existing non-conforming sign. The ordinance states that if the shape, size, basically the shape and size of the sign change, that's technically taking it out of its non-conforming allowance. So they wouldn't have been approved to have it lit. So the DRB would have to approve it being internally lit. The other item was the signage square footage is more than what the ordinance currently allows, but the sign did have approximately the same square footage previously.
And there's more. The previous one had 5 per column and this one has 6.
It's still the same.
It's still the same
Have
cabinet,
more.
correct?
Yeah, we've got more dividers in it.
So what they did was the cabinet, and you can see the little white lines between the columns. They replaced the columns, then and they put a Ladson Oak Brook on top. But the cabinet that was there that said Ladson Oak Brook, all of that's the same cabinet, but they put partitions where it says Ladson Oak Brook now to add another row
For
of
the
3.
teams too.
And Beck, is that number of sign panels allowed?
So it's by square footage, not by number of panels. I can't say that I've measured the sign in the field. My staff report was based off of the diagram you see before you, which was exceeding the 75 square feet.
Gonna put the landscape back, I think put the landscape back.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that.
That, well, they plan on planting slower, like, Papa's grass.
Campus grass? God sakes,
How about what you said?
bruh.
Well, I can let them know what you prefer. They just wanted to clean it out and make it clean.
Well, the boxwoods you got there look pretty good.
Yeah, what you got.
They're not there anymore.
They're gone.
I know, but you did have an infection.
Right.
It's easy to replace.
All right, any further discussion? Or questions?
So you will tell the owner to put the boxwoods back?
I can tell them to put the box.
Well, that would be a
Yeah.
requirement.
Yes,
And all the letters will remain as is. And even in the future, you're not.
yeah,
gonna-
anything is, they're black
Right.
lettering. Yeah, they can't be,
More colors.
No more color.
flowers,
correct.
or-
They can't be,
Sounds much less garish than.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Thank
thank you.
Much better.
Tasteful, very,
For the site.
very
for
tasteful,
20
and very
years.
tasteful.
It's been a 5-year battle. And I didn't know they finished it before. I do apologize.
And what's the name of the sign company?
Loretano, it used to be Robert's sign.
Okay. All right, yeah. All righty, so is there a motion?
I make a motion for approval as discussed with the landscaping return.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say, well, any further
I
discussion?
have a question.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it lit? I don't understand. Are the letters lit?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they're edged
Yeah,
around, so
it's
when
edged
we
around.
look at it at
Yeah.
night, we're gonna.
My understanding is they're not requesting it to be lit today.
They are not
They,
requesting.
oh yeah, they want it now. Yeah, with the halo lighting. Yeah,
Halo
which
lights,
is
I
a-
think would be accepted.
But doesn't staff have a concern about
So-
it can't be lit?
Staff would consider this signage here a workaround and it's still internally lit. So the reason it's coming before you is that it cannot have any sort of internal illumination for the ordinance unless DRB grants them that allowance. So y'all would be granting an allowance to have internally lit multi-tenant signage and to exceed the allowed square footage for multi-tenant
As
signage.
the sign originally was.
Which the existing one is lit internally,
Yes,
non-conforming,
Yes,
or the old one.
it's gone.
Well, yeah, the previous sign.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
internally lit.
Okay.
yes.
I have a question on that. It's the same cabinet, correct?
Same size.
It's the same cabinet, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is staff's opinion on the cabinet since it assumingly didn't move? Did it lose its non-conforming status since it's the same exact?
Yes, because the way the ordinance evaluates it is that if the sign shape or size changes, it specifically
Which is
says.
the cladding, not the,
Okay, so the black iron looking things was the change, the mechanism, even though the cabinet did not change the
The
structure.
ordinance doesn't get into specifics, of
Gotcha.
cabinet versus structure.
Okay.
Cabinets changed a lot.
Do what now?
For the better.
No, it's the
Big
same,
change.
it's the
Yeah.
same cabinet. It's
The
the,
face.
it's the face and the
Right,
edging.
right.
The edging is not, it's a
Bingo.
separate structure. But if the zoning ordinance doesn't mention that, then it's the same exact thing to me.
All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. We have a motion for approval with conditions. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
We've approved it. A little late.
Could you restate the motion? I'm sorry, I don't understand the motion. Okay.
They're asking for approval as submitted with the condition that landscaping is added at the bottom and it will be illuminated.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right?
Aye.
Okay, all right.
Done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Boone Hill Road.
This one?
All right, so,
Say aye.
we'll go ahead and get started with our next item. So this is going to be a new construction of a Sphinx store and gas station off of Boone Hill Road. They came before you previously for conceptual. They are now requesting preliminary and final. I had a few comments in the staff report. If anyone would like me to go over them, they are a little lengthy, so I won't read them verbatim now. But typically, when something goes from conceptual to final, there are a few comments. If the board needs me to address any, I'm happy to. But I'll go ahead and hand it over to the applicant.
Awesome. My name is Aaron Schmidt. I work with Seam Whiteside as an engineer. Also with us today is Spinks as well, and then also the architect, and you'll probably be able to hear from them here in a little bit. With that, first, I just want to say thank you guys for your time this evening or afternoon. The biggest thing that I wanted to start with is kind of just to recap the meeting that we had last time when we were here for conceptual. In that time, there was actually discussion from the board that we should submit for final, which is why we're here today requesting preliminary/final. With that, there were a couple comments that Becca brought up at the beginning from the previous meeting that I just kind of wanted to clarify really quickly that we had kind of discussed in the last meeting, but just to kind of jog everyone's memory. One of those discussions had to do with additional parking on the site or excessive parking on the site. And it was really related to the parking that you see in the northeast corner, if you will, of the plan. Just to kind of jog everyone's memory, the intent of that parking was not just to find or force parking onto the site. It was actually kind of delineate parking for the staff so that they were out of the way of where the parking would then be for the actual store. Another one of the questions had to do with the dumpster. When we discussed in our last meeting as well, we had talked about looking at this site, and there's a tough way in order to maybe fit that dumpster enclosure in a different portion of the site just due to the pond constraints, trying to keep the trees that are there while also servicing with the gas tank that's needed to service the pumps themselves. And so what we did is we actually slid it a little bit further back into the site than where it was before. So it's further away from Boone Hill Road. And then our architect, who is also on the line, Miss Betsy Ellingson, you can see her in the bottom right hand corner there. She planted, in her words, she planted the heck out of it. So we tried to screen it as best as we could. That way it is not something that your eye is drawn to as you pull into the site. So adjacent to that is also the pork chop / entrance. I know that it was quickly discussed last time as well. And just to bring you guys up to speed, we are in coordination with the town of Somerville as it relates to the TIA and in with that SCDOT in order to understand the requirements of that right in and right out. And so we will be following all DOT requirements and working with town staff on that as it relates to that right in, right out. there was a quick comment about the size of the pond. We did run our stormwater calculations, and the pond size that you see there is the size that's needed to handle that water appropriately. That way we are not negatively affecting any downstream properties. There was a question of whether it needed to be that big, and the answer is yes, in order to handle that stormwater appropriately. Other than that, one of the other comments that we received had to do with the sidewalk adjacent to on the northeast side, if you will, of Boone Hill on the other side of that pork chop, and then up Quarry Boulevard as well. There was the reason that we did not show it on the plan at the time is not for the intent of not doing it. It was actually for the intent of, we understood that we were going to have to work with staff anyways. It is kind of a sensitive area with tree saves in that area. There's a roadside ditch along Boone Hill. And so we want to be very careful about where we put that and be very, what's the word I'm looking for? We just want to be very sensitive to that area and make sure that where we place it works well with those trees, works well with the road, and keeps the pedestrian safe as well. So the intent is to put it in there, and we will find the way that works best, and we'll work with staff to do that. But we're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes and not show sidewalk in there and get something approved that doesn't have sidewalk. That's not the intent. So in addition to that, I just wanted to quickly run you through just to get your bearings as far as the site goes in general. So obviously we're still keeping with the right in, right out that you have on Boone Hill, the full access that's on Hudson Drive, and then the access that sits on Quarry. There was a quick comment as it related to evergreen plantings along the access that goes to Quarry Boulevard. We will definitely be working with staff to make sure that those plantings are addressed appropriately, and it is not an issue as it relates to our design. So outside of that, I think that really kind of covers most of the site design portion of things. I do want to invite either Mr. Greg or Mr. Frank up in order to discuss the store itself. There are a couple questions related to the signage that we want to make sure that we talk with you about, and then also as it relates to the canopy sizing as well. So I'll let them come up and discuss that as well with you, just to give you clarity.
Good evening. My name's Greg Minton. I'm with the Spinks Company. This is Frank Toe with Betch and Associates, our architect for the project. I wanted to speak to the point on the signage. There was a comment came up regarding the height of our sign and the square footage of the face. And currently what we have proposed, and I brought a rendering that I can pass around. We have three versions of our sign. They're all 8 feet tall. They all reflect and meet the ordinance to less than 40% of the gasoline price to the total square footage of the sign. We were considering three options. Since you do not allow for a variable message board with messages, we would probably go to a standard 2-digit LED lit light for the pricing. That shows it has to be the same color. We would meet that ordinance. And I have three versions I can just pass around quickly, but all three meet the sign ordinance and will adhere to the policies of that: height, total face square footage, and then the single color gasoline price sign as outlined with the code.
And I'll just go over those really quickly. So here are the signage requirements he's referring to. For fuel sales establishments, the changeable copy or digital sign shall not be more than 40% of the sign face area and shall only display the price per gallon. And then there's the second item about being expressed in one color only for our change copy digital signs. The DRB also has the ability to grant 2 monument signs instead of 1 on the site. So they are proposing 2 monument signs. I did put a note in there about making sure we maintain, site visibility triangles of 15 by 15 feet for safety entering and exiting into traffic. The sign was called out as 10 feet tall here, but I believe, as he said, they are planning for 8.
I assume the second sign is at the Hudson entrance. I don't disagree with you. I think it's smart. I agree. Well, and looking at it, it wraps around a core anyways.
The Hudson Road sign.
Can you explain what the difference
Yeah,
between
we
these two are?
don't really see a difference.
The height
there.
of the,
I'm sorry that everybody I can pass it around.
why don't you explain it so that,
The first version of this was a variable message board, which is electronic, but since it only is able to display gas pricing, we would probably not go to that expense because they're quite expensive. If we're not able to advertise, other products than gasoline. The second option is the only difference really is the LED lights. There's a 13-inch digits. And then the third one is a 16-inch digit. But both of those still are under the 40% requirement to be less than 40% to meet the ordinance. And all the signs are under the total square footage and 8 feet tall.
and the color is yellow?
The colors
White.
are accurate.
It's kind of a whitish color. It's not a yellow.
You mean the numbers?
The numbers.
The
that's
digital.
correct. The digital.
Okay. All right.
And
Right.
does the surrounding blue around the digital numbers, that is a fixed panel or,
Fixed panel.
or is that blue LEDs too?
No, it's just a fixed panel. The only illumination would be the Sphinx and then just the letters for the gasoline, the numbers.
And what is the 000 at the back base?
Let's see a direct.
That would be like for an address for the property.
And those are just opaque letters.
Yes,
that-
they would not be.
All right, I can pass that on.
Thank you.
Questions, Will?
Can someone rank the entrances? Where do you foresee most of your customers coming in, and are the others for trucks? You got 3 entrances. Can you rank them?
The challenge we've had with the site trying to get the access, the traffic study is being performed right now will dictate where a lot of that'll prescribe through the traffic study, the flow of that traffic. But what we've got with the importance of these drives is because of the tight circulation to be able to get tanker trucks in there, to be able to circulate and get out onto the side road. You'll see where the gas tanks are in front of the canopy. But to get an 18-wheel truck into this, it'd be easier for them to circulate around the front of the canopy to that gasoline tank area and then exit out. So we have to create that path because working with the trees, it's very compressed and the truck needs at least a 40-foot turning section on either side of any obstacle, or it will just clip light post, cars, etc. So really a lot of that's designed to be able to handle the deliveries for fuel and for merchandise trucks.
The main route, the expectation of the main route would be for the trucks to come in off of Boone Hill. They would then work their way in towards those tanks and they would make their way out onto Hudson in order to hit the signalized intersection to go either left or right from there, or really to go straight since there's the new Berlin G. Meyer extension that they could hit and head out.
Right. Chris is gone. so-
Let's say we can hit on the architecture real quick.
Yeah.
Really the question as it related to the height of the canopy.
Do we wanna, Peter, do we wanna hit one by one, or do we wanna jump all over the place?
Are there any other questions on the sign? Comments on the sign?
No,
I don't care what they decide, either, any of the three choices is fine with me.
Okay, so now, but you discussed, you think one is not necessary? Is that,
there isn't one
They have-
there
they have two-
anyway.
They have two on site.
One on Blue Mill Road. The one on Hudson has got a low traffic count. And it's just primarily local traffic. You're gonna get a lot of traffic because that's the only way you can get in if you're going north on Blue Mill Road or whatever direction that is, I guess. Towards Somerville, you gotta take a left on Hudson to get into the gas station. Which I don't know why they're restricting access that way. Cause it seems like there are no turn lanes in Blue Mill Road there.
There are no turn lanes currently in Boone Hill, and that's why the right in, right out that's planned for this would circulate and just pull the traffic going southbound into the site. Because without that, you don't want to make somebody making a left blocking traffic
Right.
on a 2-lane road.
The DOT driveway spacing requirements won't allow for that access on Boone Hill to be a full access.
Okay.
There's not enough spacing between Hudson Drive and where a full access would sit on the site. So it's driven to have to be a right in, right out for it to be a
So
viable.
whatever it is, it is.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I would,
What happens to the old car washes on the corner?
it's part of this property, it's being demoed.
Yeah, that'll all be torn down, and that's that entry area over there coming in off of Quarry.
How are you gonna treat that?
Well, we'll be landscaping that, as he mentioned earlier. We'll have that landscape coming through that drive. That'll be grassed and landscaped. And then once we determine what to do with the sidewalks, working with staff, we'll be in that area.
I'm in agreement. They only need the one monument sign on Boone Hill. They can't do this one.
Say again?
They can't do this
We
one.
can't do the first.
They
No.
can't do the first one because this advertisement.
I
is
think the
prohibited.
second one's fine because
the
it's the
second and third.
smaller
Yeah.
digits.
And the difference is the size of the numbers, basically.
Yeah.
I think it looks like a high school scoreboard, but
I don't disagree. with you.
I
A lot of high schoolers around there.
I think smaller is better in terms
Yeah,
of light,
go ahead.
the height of the LED.
I don't have a preference either way.
All right. And
So
then,
we're in architecture now?
yep,
I'll let Frank,
let me just ask one more.
Oh,
yes, sir.
okay.
For the retention pond, is that gonna be wet all the time?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
It will be. Yes, sir. It'll have a standing water surface elevation with it. Yes, sir.
Okay, then go on.
Could I see the sign that y'all are wanting?
absolutely.
So I know which one it is.
And we'll send that to you also.
Is there a designation on that?
Number two with the,
Number two?
is with the 13 digit.
Okay. I'll turn it over to Frank if you want to go move to the architectural questions, and he also has materials for samples.
So I believe the question was to the top of the soffit for the gas canopy is going to be 16 feet. And the reasoning we want it to be 16 feet is because of the length of the gas canopy and the proportion of it. If we make it any lower, it's going to look really stubby and short. And we just don't think the proportions is going to look right with the building and the gas canopy together. As it's shown now, it's 16 feet to the bottom of the soffit.
What's the eve height of the building?
Can you go to the elevations? It's probably, you're talking about to the peak of the gables,
Eve.
the eave.
On the side.
Wall.
I think it's around, Let's see, the window height, it's probably around 14 feet.
Why couldn't you do the canopy the same as the height of the building then? 15 feet.
We looked at lowering it to 14 feet and it just dropped it down and made it look really short and stubby. Was the reasoning for that. And then the the length of it, just the total length and the proportions didn't quite look right.
You just get better weather protection if it was 2 feet less.
Mm-hmm.
So how much higher is the gas canopy peak over the building?
2 foot.
Highest point? 2
About
feet?
the same.
I think they're right at the same.
Oh, they're at the same?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll have to check on it.
So the gable peak,
Yeah,
you're saying matches the building highest gable peak.
I think it's very close.
We will confirm.
Yes.
I would say we do not want the canopy to be higher.
You don't want the gas canopy higher than the store
right,
peaks. Gotcha.
right.
That makes sense.
But the peaks could be at the same, I think.
Yeah.
That looked good. Mhm.
I think it all looks good.
Yeah,
Right.
the building looks great.
Thank you.
Looks a lot better than the one at Maple and 78.
Thank you, Bill.
Which I go to twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did y'all have any questions on materials? He brought some samples.
Can we see the sample board?
Yeah, this is the metal roofing sample package, and be careful, it has some sharp edges on it.
So that's the roof?
That's the metal, standing seam metal roof. This is gonna be the storefront. This is just an example of the hardy texture. That's not the color.
Is it gray?
Yes, and here's the gray colors, the board and batten. Will be this color, the Dorian gray. Well, that will be for the board and batten. The hardy shakes will be this color gray. And that's dovetail. And this is the white for the trim around the windows.
And the board across it. looks
Yes,
like.
and the
And the-
accent boards.
Or your,
And the columns
the
are white
columns,
too. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
okay, just making sure on that. Okay.
And you have that original color sheet.
Yeah, and you guys probably, yeah, that's in the set next down there. That's just.
What's the
showing
difference
all the
between these
colors.
two, Grace?
They're just one's a little bit darker, and one's a little bit lighter, but one's for the shakes and one's for the board and batten. Just to give it a little bit
Just a
different
little-
color
Little
contrast.
separation, so it
Yeah.
just doesn't.
Gotcha. Just so it all don't blend together. Understood.
And what was the column for the canopy, the gas canopy?
That's gonna be board and batten. Do I have an A 2.4? Go back up to the working drawing.
Not a gray.
Yeah, right.
That's the style nowadays.
It'll look good.
You could just tell me what it's gonna match. one
Yeah,
of these?
it'll be one of the grays. The board and batten gray, which is the Dorian gray. It'll be this color.
Which is the main building.
Never knew it was a
No,
Not-
this is not the main building is the other one.
But we have both colors on the main building. We
You
have
do.
shakes and.
The shakes are one color and the board and battens the other
Yeah.
color.
Yeah,
I
if
think
you
it should
keep going,
match.
yeah, keep going through the renderings. Yeah, there you go. Look at, there you, yeah. Good point. The one sheet up. Okay, there you go. There you go. Right there in the bottom left. That's the design that we have. Yeah.
What is that material?
It's board and batten, panels,
It's just
hardy panels, and then we have the trim to make the look.
It has some good architectural break lines, so it really looks nice, the way this is
In the
designed.
bottom.
And that, so again, for finishes, we're gonna match the shaker, the shape.
Yes, sir.
With that.
Okay.
Can you, as long, is that the dumpster enclosure? Can you talk about that? What is the finish of the dumpster?
It's gonna be painted, it's gonna be, painted chocolate gray.
So it's
It's
brick,
gonna be brick, painted brick.
3 sides,
Yes.
and then the gate is made out of,
It's
A metal
um,
gate?
Yes, it's a metal gate and it'll be painted to match the brick also.
and what is the brick color?
It's
It'll be
painted.
painted
Well,
gray.
So everything is just off that shaky gray,
Yes, sir.
essentially.
Well,
It's
thank God that's
we have two
the
grays.
landscape that looked out of it.
How tall is that wall?
This wall, I think it's 8.
9. Is it 9 or?
9.5, no.
Okay, so it's the dumpster, that screens a dumpster adequately, right?
8 feet, yes, sir.
Yeah, 8 feet.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
There was an issue about the level parking lot lighting. It needs to be more than 3-foot candles on us. Or like this. Because we've had too many have to come back and upgrade their light.
This is not enough. Yeah.
I can work go on that. I did make a comment about the lighting. I think it's some places it wasn't called out all the way to the property line. So I couldn't really complete a full review of it, but that's something that we can handle through site permitting.
Sure.
We'll work with you on that. Yeah, we want to make sure it's well lit, but also doesn't overpower outside of the site.
Yeah, he said, right.
Well,
Yes, sir.
you gotta be careful because if it gets too bright under the canopy, you can't see beyond the edge of the canopy.
Well,
It's like being inside your house.
well,
You know, 3 foot, yeah, but I've seen them where they want it 25. And the problem with that is you can't see beyond the edge of the canopy, so you don't know who's under it. Gotcha.
Great.
What is the driveway material? Asphalt, concrete, pervious?
The rendering goes to show it quite correct.
That's right.
Oh.
The driveway itself will be concrete. The reason for that has to do with, really maintenance and length of life that it would then have. When we make it a concrete surface, with the traffic that it'll handle, there'll be less opportunity for potholes, large cracking, and stuff like that happens in the site. The concrete is a lot less to maintain and keeps a lot cleaner look.
So are you planning to finish the concrete like the rendering, or is that just a natural concrete?
It'll just be a natural concrete.
Natural.
Becca, going back to the lighting, what is the max levels under a canopy? Do y'all have that standard? Because in some places here it is 28 and 29. No worries. Yeah, it's 0.9 next to the building itself, and that needs to be raised, but 28.5, that's a lot.
Push your light on this, just like they have on every other store.
Yes, sir. We use really the same lighting company that does the photometrics for us. Of course, we'll have to make some modifications if they've changed the site plan a little bit, but we'll have them redo that to ensure that you get what you want. And then also,
It just goes into commercial, so it doesn't go into.
What's the max?
You're talking about lights.
Not the property.
So that would be. Yeah,
No internal.
no.
Thank you.
Okay, can the landscape designer talk about the landscaping, especially around Boone, public streets?
Betsy?
Can she hear us?
Yes, I'm here. Sure. Well, basically what we were looking to do was to plant that 8-foot parking buffer that faces the corner. Since we don't have a ton of parking that is really right up against the parking, and trying to create kind of a little lawn, almost like a park-like experience along the sides of the roads. We've got a couple of trees, existing trees along there as well that we're saving, so we're working that in, as well as manipulating the sidewalk to connect to the parking area and still be, you know, kind of informal looking, almost park-like. Also planted the area between Boone Hill Road and the dumpster area. I know we had talked about it in the last DRB meeting about planting that so it really starts to disguise that dumpster. So we've done that in layers, taller down to the shorter plantings, and then working around the large trees that we've got in the back and between the development and Corey Boulevard. And we can add some more as Becca's notes, we can add some evergreens along in there also that will help complement the landscape.
So what is the material at the Boone Hill entrance, for example?
At the Boone Hill entrance, I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I did it, and I need to look at the screen a little bit there. I do have a bit of sweetgrass. And then at the dumpster, what were the taller ones? I'm sorry, I don't remember. It's been a couple months since I did this. Let's see, I've got some Distillium, which is, it looks, it's a kind of a medium height evergreen that has some smaller leaves. I've got juniper in front of that that'll be a little bit lower, more of a Parsons juniper. It's a good drought resistant, kind of a tough evergreen plant. And then I've got some osmanthus that will give some height and evergreen. And it also has some flowers to it that will have a nicer smell to it, which around a dumpster, maybe not a bad idea. And then also some azaleas. I've got some azaleas in there as well, some George Tabor azaleas that also, I have a few of those at the building, so it'll kind of tie in both sides of that entrance a little bit with something more ornamental.
Is the pork chop just painted, or is that actually a raised curb?
It'll be a raised curb. If the DOT standard has it a raised curb, it'll have directional signage in it. Again, that is something that will be designed per DOT standards as we work with them on the access encroachment permits.
As well as the sidewalk and the right of way, right?
All the sidewalk and right of way, all that's coordinated. Right of way work with DOT, and the sidewalk would be a combination of working with the staff and DOT where that sidewalk's going to go.
Okay, but just confirming this is not the finished product for the sidewalk along the site frontage.
That is correct. We talked about that earlier. We didn't show it because there's a lot of things we've got to maneuver around there as we work with staff and DOT, but it will be in the plans.
Yeah, I recall you mentioning it earlier. The thing I'm noticing now is the one on the left side of the pork chop where it looks like it's running right along the right of way line, and it's just leading you out into the right turn out from the from the site. So just, I guess, as long as our final approval isn't isn't approving like that condition, you guys will figure it out.
And again, that's all part of the DOT permit as far as ADA and accessibility and walkways. All that's covered under that permitting process.
Right.
Right. And I will say that that sidewalk that looks like it just goes forward and dead ends into the curb there at Hudson. There's actually a fairly newly installed ramp it's not even really a ramp because it's flush, but some the raised dome handicap access there. So
Detectable
we
warning strip.
connected to that, and then,
Yeah.
right, the detector warning, and then the other kind of free form, I guess, sidewalk just helps connect it to Hudson because we've got all those existing trees that we needed to keep. So there's just on-site conditions that we're working around, but we'll work with staff and DOT
Yeah.
and whatever we need to
I
do.
mean, I like what you guys did on the Hudson Drive frontage. I think that looks great where along the BMP, you're in the right of way and then you kind of meander into the site. I mean, in a responsible manner, it's just that one strip along Boone where it's dropping you off right in the turn.
Right, yeah. It's just a weird situation. And on the other side of that pork chop, we've got a roadside ditch and we've got the existing trees. So that's just something we need to work with staff and DOT
Understood.
on to.
And the other reason that's kind of driving the sidewalk that way is to allow the employees to roll their trash carts out to the dumpster as well to have access. So that's why it kind of like it dead ends at the dumpster as if the dumpster is a destination to get to. But we will be reworking and, like you said, finding a way for it to continue down the hill that doesn't just end you right there.
Oh,
Sounds good.
why doesn't it continue all the way down Hudson to the edge of property?
Well, that's another situation where you can see there are all those existing trees there. So we would just need some direction from staff or DOT on how to deal with those trees. There's a lot going on right there. So took it as far as we felt we could for now until we get some input.
Will it be required final site plan?
I would work with the town arborist. We could look at, we've looked at doing some root bridges along the new Central Avenue similar to that. So we're experimenting with different options for that. So we'll help them through that to get them to meet the requirement. If they can't, we'll come up with an alternative.
There's an apartment complex in the north there too, an existing one.
Yeah,
So
that was
like,
my
when
next
are they
question.
gonna continue that? Ever?
Well, Hudson curves around, depending on the town code. The ones I've worked in the past says as if it redevelops and you have to put the sidewalk there.
Right.
Otherwise, it's at the detriment or the cost of Somerville as a whole. I guess my question would be, if you're not gonna extend it to Hudson Drive, and it sounds like Becca's got a pretty good plan, that's fine. I understand the Boone Hill Road sidewalk not extending across the pork chop. I'm a little bit worried about the arms manual allowing a sign in the pork chop. I did not know that happened, studying the arms manual extensively, but whatever. Why does the sidewalk not go down Quarry? Do it.
I think when it's a raised median, it's allowable. You're talking about signage within the
Mhm.
within the pork chop? Yeah, if it's raised, I think it's allowable.
Yeah.
Say DOT specifically, they specify exactly where that signage has to go for like a do not enter sign and
Sure.
right in. So we'll
Well-
just be following exactly as they say. Really, they don't allow to veer from it at all. They're like, this is exactly what you got to do. Show it to us.
Well, again, in requiring pork chops that I'm working with engineers right now on, I've never seen signs in that, and I don't see it in the 2018 arms manual that it's allowed. And the reason I would suggest is because we're covering zone. If you hop that pork chop, now you're taking out a sign, but
Sure.
regardless, that's neither here nor there. Why is there not a sidewalk on Corey?
That's one of the comments.
Okay.
That's related to Mecca and us continuing it up for
Okay.
TBD. Yep. So, and again, we fully understand the length of sidewalks that need to go, and they will be there
Mhm.
as it relates to working with staff. We are not trying to dodge not putting sidewalks.
No, you're good. I knew about the Boone Hill. I didn't know that extended out Corey Boulevard, because
Sure.
that's currently right now a flush driveway.
That's correct.
So I just didn't know.
It's a pretty, once we get to Corey, it's a pretty simple run it up. We may give it a little bit of character, but other than that, I mean, grade wise, it should be pretty simple.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna summarize the board comments, but there was one comment made about eliminating the second Sphinx sign at Hudson. And I didn't hear any feedback from Sphinx.
You know, we prefer to have two signs, but we do understand that Hudson, the traffic is not a lot of traffic over there. And as long as we can get the Boone Hill sign with the visibility to it, we would, you know, work with you to eliminate that sign. Because the key is Boone Hill is the traffic carrier.
Do we have a strong opinion about it not being on Hudson Road
Yes.
and not being located there?
Yes.
This requires a variance from us only. They can't do it unless we say so, and I don't see a reason to grant it.
Gotcha.
That's just me then. I'm one of 5 people up here.
Okay, yeah, I know Bill brought up costs and I'm just curious, like, if it's a cost thing, why do we care? If it's a variance?
But it
thing,
sets a
then-
precedent, right?
That's what I'm worried about. I mean, granted, this isn't a true variance, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, I'm not against signage, but just to have it, just to have it. Don't disagree. Yep.
Yeah.
I think the applicant agreed.
Sounds
You'll
good.
see the big canopies.
Okay, let me try to summarize.
It's below.
Could I ask
The roof.
ask one consideration? If we eliminate the sign on Hudson, could I be allowed the 16-inch digit on the Boone Hill sign?
Rather than the 13.
The other was 13. Can I have the larger digit for that sign?
That's
Still
right.
meets ordinance?
It's exactly the same. It's just the digit.
Oh, you're right.
So option 3. Why don't you guys look at it first?
Option. Yeah, that's it.
That's it?
Option
Yeah.
3, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it should be the option 3. It shows a 16-inch digit. Still meets under 40%.
Okay.
So
Okay.
still think it looks like a scoreboard.
I think you're right.
Work together as a team.
I think the only reason we picked
Mine
it,
should
we always
be
go. with the
larger than the
smallest
Sphinx
we can.
itself, or the Sphinx logo itself. Yeah.
All right, any other questions before I try to summarize?
No, sir.
Okay. So from a site condition, you'll work with staff on overall foot candles, lighting. You'll work with staff on the curb condition along Hudson and Corey,
Sidewalk condition.
Sidewalk.
sidewalk conditions.
And Boone Hill.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Okay. We're gonna eliminate the monument sign at Hudson. We will allow the 15-inch or 16-inch sign on Boone Hill.
16-inch digits.
The peak of the gas canopy will match the peak of the building or not be any taller. And all the finishes are approved. Are there any other comments from the board to add?
Oh, that was great. Good summation.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve with these comments incorporated?
I make a motion to approve with the conditions stated.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You want to get Chris back? Here he is.
All right, if the chairman's okay with it, I'll go into my staff report for this one. This is for 3878 Ladson Road, Ladson Laundry Coastal Suds. This is the preliminary review. They were previously before you in April for conceptual. At the conceptual meeting, the DRB asked the applicant to address the following items in summary: to study the use of brick that is not painted to better relate to the context of surrounding architecture and Somerville vernacular, to restudy the flat roof with some low country details, look at black or Charleston green for the roof and awning colors, add residential details to give a sense of inviting space, and provide site plans that show both possibilities regarding the neighboring lot and its required access connection. Since these folks have seen you, they received tree protection board approval with the understanding that if the access connection to the neighboring Dollar General lot cannot be made or does not move forward, that the applicant will work with the arborist on maintaining the existing trees of note in that location. Bicycle parking will be required. And a dumpster detail, photometric plan, and signage plan will need to be provided as part of the final DRB submittal. And that is all I had for staff comments. So I will hand it over to Benjamin.
All right. My name is Benjamin. I work for GBA, the architecture firm who designed this project. I'm here with Jessica Myers, who's our civil engineer. So I'll do a little bit of a deep dive into the architecture, specifically through the lens of the changes since our last presentation, and then I'll hand it over to Jessica, who can speak to the site. So a quick kind of overview of where we're at, rehash what we talked about last week. Becca, if you want to go to slide, I think it's G003, it shows the context. Yeah, perfect. So we are at the corner of Latson and Limehouse Drive. You can see we're in the center photo right there. Directly adjacent to us on Latson is the Dollar General. To our right is northeast, and then to the southwest is the Take 5. Across the intersection is the Parkers. Behind the Parkers is actually, I'm not showing it there, but is a multifamily apartment complex. And then right behind our site is a single family residential development. And you actually access our, Beck, if you want to jump to a site plan, I think it's maybe like 3 slides forward. Yeah, perfect. Maybe like 2 after this would give our building footprint. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So you can see that intersection there. And so how you access our site is you turn on Limehouse and then enter through a shared drive with Take 5. And then our building, the kind of front of our building goes towards Limehouse Road. And then the side elevation, which kind of activates as or acts as a front elevation as well, goes to Latson Road. So we paid particular attention to those 2 elevations, but obviously we consider all elevations. So now, Becca, if you want to maybe go, sorry having you jump around, but we'll stick for a long time at this slide. To your, I think it's G002 has like a summary of all of our changes. Should be kind of good way to talk about the design. So the next slide has our changes. Okay, awesome. So we'll camp out here. So our first preliminary or our concept submittal rather, you can see in the top left corner. It was so our intention was always to create a building that kind of spoke the language of the Low Country aesthetic, but our concept design leaned heavily into that commercial, kind of more directly resembling both the Dollar General and the Take 5. Y'all gave awesome feedback. We're really excited how the design's evolved. But you guys kind of gave us a mandate to pursue a more residential design, something that kind of more straddled the line between the residential nature of the neighborhoods directly behind us and also the commercial properties along Latson Road. So we really kind of strive to do that. We think that's perfectly appropriate for a laundry as well, which is kind of a unique function in that we're like a domestic utility, but also a commercial service. So we feel like our new design really kind of speaks the language of residential while being a commercial building. So we have kind of a summary of y'all's comments and then some exhibits that kind of illustrate how we've addressed those. So the first and most significant design change was the roof form. So you guys asked us to pivot from that flat roof with parapet to a gable roof with standing seam. So you see that, directly next to it, the preliminary design totally transforms the building, in our opinion. It scales it down, it makes it feel more residential, more accessible, more kind of individual and personal, which we love. It also gave us the opportunity to incorporate a lot more classic Low Country details. So we have those wood brackets that are painted to match the siding. We have exposed structure and rafter tails at these canopies at the entry and then the side elevations. And then of course we have the standing seam metal roof. And if you look at the next or just below that, you can see in the bottom right of your screen, yeah, we're, and we have a real sample as well. If you'd like to see those, we can pass all those samples around, but we went with a dark charcoal finish from some feedback you guys provided. You asked us to explore black, Charleston green, something dark that was more appropriate for Somerville, something not quite as coastal, but more, like I said, more typically historical in Somerville. So we really like the dark charcoal. The charcoal kind of reduces the contrast a little bit while still giving that really nice contrast between our white facade and the dark roof. It also weathers really well. It's cost effective. So we like that, that finish. And then sticking with the exterior palette, move down to the walls. We have a brick base that is consistent around the whole perimeter of the building. We have samples of these two different brick options for you too, but so we really like the painted brick. It's very cost effective, and we think it's appropriate with that classic low country look, that kind of monochrome facade. You still get the texture of the different materials, but it's uniform in its color. But we were asked to pursue other brick options, and we really do love this other brick as well. It's the Watsontown, the Cottonwood brick. We did a lot of research into local Somerville brick, and we saw a lot of brown brick. And also immediately around us, we have the kind of pink lime wash look of the Parkers. Then we also have the dark brown of the Take 5. So we didn't want to reference directly one of those, but we wanted a brick that would maybe kind of split the difference. So if you see that Cottonwood brick, it has kind of a lighter finish, but it still has that sandy brown look. Looks a little pinker on the screen. Like I said, I have a real sample of it you guys can take a look at. So like I said, our client would maybe prefer the painted brick if you guys like that, but is totally open to the more natural brick finish as well. And then above that, this hasn't changed, but still consistent in our design, is the board and batten painted white, which we feel like is appropriate for the type and also gives a nice kind of textural contrast with the brick base. And then the final point that you guys wanted us to pursue, which again, we think really strengthened the design, was to introduce some pedestrian friendly elements at the front and kind of more residential details, like covered porches, flower boxes, that kind of thing. So we pursued, the idea of a porch while still staying within cost constraints. So what we found, we think is a nice kind of maybe solution here, is what we did. You can see in that that kind of diagonal view is that we extended the main gable roof eave out 3 feet to cover those these 4 different patios that are separated apart by planter beds that'll have plantings, flowers. So it gives a more residential feel there, and it also gives seating to users of the laundry, to visitors, that is covered and shaded. So right there, you're seeing the time of day, you're not seeing the shade, but that eave extension fully covers that bench. So those are 4 feet deep patios that have full coverage of the roof overhangs. So like I said, we really feel like this effectively signals that this is a community space. It's a space that's welcome to pedestrians. It's a place that you can gather and hang out while also being a practical commercial space. So, so yeah, we have some renderings. We obviously have architectural drawings, and then we have renderings at the end, larger scale, that show you the building from all different perspectives, gives you, illustrates what we're thinking for lighting as well. So if we want to kind of go through there. We're going to introduce some, we have signage on the front facade and the side facade. Those are going to be lit by those art lights, those wall washers. We're going to introduce wall sconces at the door to kind of signal the entry and also to get that residential feel. So yeah, that's this elevation that we're just scrolling down to, the one at the bottom of the screen. That is the view from Ladson Road. So that was really important to us, even if it's a side elevation, that it really presents itself well, has the architectural details of the canopy, provides shade at the windows, and also it has the signage that is lit by this kind of beautiful art lighting. So this gives an illustration of the lighting. So yeah, love to answer any questions. And also we have our site expert as well.
Your material for the parking and the walkway, what is that?
You want to speak to that?
The material for the walkway, is that what?
The walkway and the parking, what is the material?
The parking is intended to be asphalt pavement, the sidewalk there, just a standard concrete.
Sidewalk is what?
Standard concrete.
Standard concrete.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
does the concrete run straight up to the building or is there a area for plantings?
There is an area for plantings. I think you can see there where Becca's highlighting. It is intended to kind of provide some separation between those little patio areas. The portions where the benches will sit, that does go straight up to the building. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
You have rumble strips, or Take 5 has rumble strips on the other side of that crosswalk. Why is there not some on the right-hand side?
They will be at, are the detectable warning surface? Those will be added. Those just haven't been added as part of the DRB package. They will be submitted to TRC for stormwater and engineering review.
I have a question on the building signage.
Yes.
So on the end, you have this technique,
Mhm.
that the other places you have medallions.
Exactly. Yeah. So we wanted, as this facade faces Latson Road, which would be the most trafficked, we wanted to present kind of a larger sign. It's still restricted to less than 10% of the, or it's actually less than 5% on the side elevation. So it's still appropriately sized, but that's kind of presents the brand to Latson Road. And then we have a more subtle medallion over the front entry, which doesn't present itself as much to the street and is more like kind of architecturally forward as you approach the building.
What is the distance from that elevation to Latson Road?
The distance.
Distance?
Oh, to the road?
Yeah.
It's quite significant because we're actually set catty corner like behind
Oh.
the Take 5. So
Legibility and visibility of that sign is probably not.
yeah, we did maximize it. Yeah, we maximized it as much as we could based on the side elevation, but
So
yeah, so that's what kind of limits us. I know the UDO limits a side elevation signage to a smaller percentage. So we maximize that percentage while still staying within the UDO, which is one reason
you have
we
a
added the
blow-up
extra
of the
lighting.
medallion sign, what does that say?
What did you say? Could you repeat that?
Do you have
Sorry.
a blow up of the medallion sign, the
Oh, yeah.
round sign?
I have a printout I can show you. So he's branding material. So that's going to be the medallion side. And then this one is our.
So what is the diameter of this medallion sign?
All on the elevation back up, if you could navigate to that. So it's on this signage calculation over in that box in the top right corner of the screen. It has the percentage of this sign.
Can you just guess what the diameter is?
I think it's like 5 feet, but I want to make sure I'm speaking appropriately. Did I take the diameter? Yeah. Yeah, so it's 12 square feet.
12 square feet.
Yeah.
I
what is
think
that,
my
4.5?
opinion would be on the Latson Road sign,
Mhm.
it should probably be a medallion sign because I think the
Okay.
medallion and the intense color of the green
Yeah.
is going to be quickly recognizable with your
Sets it.
brand versus a placard sign, which is meant to be red.
Yeah.
But the distance from Latson is way too far to be legible.
Yeah. So,
Traffic is probably moving so fast.
yeah.
And I think architecturally, it disrupts it,
To have the
while the
rectangle.
medallion would look like a nice,
But where would you put the medallion?
the same where they put, yeah, on the other.
Yeah, but then you leave that blank.
Yeah, it's like 4
But
times
it-
5. Yeah,
It's the
exactly.
same elevation.
Yeah.
I mean,
It just flipped.
yeah, it's just flipped.
I think that was the difficulty is trying to fit it up within that peak kind of symmetrically while staying away from the window, but we would love to explore that. We really do like the medallion. It's a good point too, that like that wave and that blue will kind of be our branded identifier. So we can definitely pursue that.
Just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a good thought. Yeah.
And then, is there, you gave us options on the brick
Yeah.
base. Is there,
I
you
will-
said your preference is the natural brick?
Yeah, our preference is actually the painted brick. There is a cost consideration and it's cheaper. And we really like the monochrome nature of it, especially because, oh, and I didn't hit on this, but this is important. At the windows and doors, we have this accent color that is branded. If you see in the logo, it's that far right corner, or it's that far right color rather on the sheet. It's kind of a blue green. And so that is a brand identifier. It gives a little bit of like play and interest, a little unique identity to the face of the building. So that's one reason we like the painted brick, is it really sets off that colorful trim color. But we think it's still successful with the natural brick as well. And I have real samples of both of those bricks that I
Can
can
you show us a sample of this Watson Town?
in person at this scale. It looks a little more rusted. When you see it in the aggregate, it looks a little more uniform, but you do get some nice texture there. And here, this is the actual color that we've selected for the painted as well.
Painted.
Yeah, it's painted up here.
Paint.
Oh, yeah. Fine, there's- And that blue green color I discussed as well. I have a sample of.
Nice, nice colors.
And we really like it kind of, it's in the weeds, but it subtly references the historic
good.
color of the.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
There's our standing secret.
My next question is not in the purview of the DRB, but it's gonna help me make the decision on the brick.
Yeah.
What is the floor interior of the laundromat?
Good question. That's a little bit TBD. Right now, we're planning for a sealed concrete, potentially stained, or it might be a natural kind of gray color for the
So
concrete.
it's not white.
It's
You're
not
not
white.
going with white terrazzo or anything like that?
No way. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's easy. So my opinion would be the natural Watertown brick.
That'd be mine as well.
Okay. Yeah, we like
I'd
the
actually
brick a
like
lot.
a tie into they have a brick knee wall down Latson Road in front of this property.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to use that color brick to kind of tie it into the overall development as that knee wall expands all the way down Latson.
That brick is the take.
It does, but it's in front of
Yeah.
this property.
Can we go to the site photo that might have it on there?
Page 72 of the PDF, Becca.
That was actually our inspiration for the brick base as well, is to kind of match the wall.
So they're gonna be in the trees. You can see the stormwater pond on the right, which is existing.
Yeah.
And then obviously the Family Dollar to the right looks way different, but similar color.
One thing too, that brick that we selected, I don't know if you guys have seen the new Daniel Island Cathedral. I think it's like St. Clair of Assisi. That is the exact brick they used. So if you want a precedent.
You were intentionally not matching the brick of the wall.
Exactly. Because we wanted to balance between their Parker's, and that brick is pretty brown in person, which we don't dislike necessarily, but we thought it'd be more jarring. Yeah, because the Parker's is like a pink lime wash kind of.
I'd paint the brick white.
Paint the brick.
That's what I did.
Oh, and we also, speaking of brick, across the street from us too, which we don't have pictured, but there's that apartment complex that has like a red brick. It's like very red, pink. So anyway, so there's a lot of brick materials. So we're trying to kind of navigate that.
All right, not in favor of painted brick, very white, counter to your.
That's okay.
But that's all right.
That's what opinions are about.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Everybody's got one.
That's right.
Both valid.
Is there anything else we need to out or?
I think that addresses all the developments.
So Becca, what are they asking for in terms of approval?
Preliminary.
Let's go find.
We can't.
Fine.
We can't.
Why?
Becca's staff report states that they don't have any details on the dumpster enclosure. We don't know what it is.
Well, we can just tell them to match the materials of the building.
Okay, that's what you want to do.
Let's get it over.
That is our intention.
This is the best looking laundromat in the world.
I don't
right
disagree.
now.
I don't,
Thank you.
I don't disagree. All right, would someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion for final approval. With comments noted.
Absolutely.
Well, there would need to be clarification on painted brick versus the other
That's right.
natural brick.
Well,
Or conflicting.
Whatever the dominant opinion is, we go with the color brick. My opinion is painted, we know we have at least two that are natural.
I think it was one. What's your painted?
No.
Okay,
Three.
so 1, 2,
So
3,
go with the second color brick,
Okay.
natural.
The natural brick. That
the
sounds good.
natural brick shown,
Cottonwood brick.
and match the dumpster enclosure to the building details.
That sounds great.
And which they would provide to staff.
Provide the staff.
Sounds good.
Same thing with landscaping, same thing with,
Bicycle
Photometric
parking.
and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the sign on the Latson end?
sign
Round.
lights and then make it round like the one in the
A medallion sign.
gable.
That sounds good. Definitely do that.
Chris, the landscaping's okay with, yeah, I mean, it looks nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to repeat, that was motion for final
I'll
approval
approve.
with conditions noted, which is the natural brick, round sign at the end.
Mhm.
Everything else was approved. Is there anything else I missed?
No.
Okay,
All right.
that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
About lighting?
I think there's too many things.
What was there?
There's no lighting on the
There
plans.
really isn't any lighting discussed.
Well, lighting has that, it has to meet the ordinance,
Okay,
staff approval.
all right,
We've done that before.
we have. All right.
What, just one last.
Yeah.
Did you show the rear elevation, the rear long elevation?
We do have an elevation. We don't have a rendering
quickly
of
look at
it. That is the primarily kind of a utility elevation, which is screened at the back by trees.
Okay.
We tried to be as subtle as we could, but these are all the venting necessary for the dryers, which are on the back side of the elevation. But like I said, it'll be screened by trees, and this is kind of our necessary utility elevation.
Get away with not showing it.
I know, it's like, don't look at the back. No, we tried to be as subtle and symmetrical as we could. but-
Any further discussion? Okay, all vote in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys.
Next is Sawmill Center Drive, New Bank location. Be sure to sign in, and if you speak, state your name and role in the project, please.
All right, so this project is coming before you for final approval. They previously came before you and received preliminary in May. This is the new construction of a bank. At the previous DRB meeting, this project was granted preliminary approval with comments as noted. Provide an updated, robust landscaping plan, study a screen wall along the roadside, relocating the transformer, ensuring that renderings and plans presented are consistent, to study pedestrian interconnectivity, including ADA compliance and how the connectivity relates to the public realm, reduction of pavers between the steps and the building, approaching Berlin G and utilizing landscaping to soften the transition, consider shade landscaping or shade for the interior of the building due to the utilization of glass windows, consider reducing the logo and signage and reducing the amount of the neon lime green wherever possible, and study intentional brick detailing where possible. And then the property will require bicycle parking, but staff has no further comments at this time, so I will hand it over to y'all.
Thank you. Ryan Brady with McAdams, representing the Civil Engineering Department. Yeah, first comment on this was to ensure ADA connectivity with the shopping center. You can see kind of on the bottom side of the building running plan southeast. We've added a sidewalk connection with crosswalk painting through the drive-through island, which goes out to the internal shopping center sidewalk. This will be all ADA compliant with slopes and cross slopes met down to the internal sidewalk. The greenway itself is not ADA compliant. Still has the stairs coming down off the greenway, but we figured most of the pedestrian walking would be internal to the shopping center, and you could still take the greenway down the sidewalk of Station Street internal if you need to. The comment of the renderings not matching the site plan has been addressed. So now the site plan rendering with the stairs and the planters up by the greenway are now accurate to what the renderings are showing. There was a comment about moving the transformer location to the island across the drive aisle from the building. So now the transformer is up in the large island instead of right next to the building. And where the transformer was now has a tree located in that island. Large comment about just having more creative landscaping. So less grass, more shrubs and trees, sort of ground plantings. We also have some stone rocks around the building near the drive-through, and then some stone outside of the main island on that large island up top. There is a large hedgerow screening from the internal drive, and then along the bottom plan southeast, I'm sorry, as well, which will be planted instead of a continuous wall. We'll have a row of hedges there. And there was a comment of missing trees in the parking lot islands, which we've addressed. And now all the parking spaces should be within the 60-foot radius of a shade tree, meeting that UDO requirement. And next would be architectural comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Taras Kassam with Gensler Architect. Yes, I wanted to walk through the architecturally related comments that we have addressed. The discussion was last time around reducing the green elements around the building. So we have updated to basically eliminate some of the bright green planters by the building that used to be there last time. The bowlers we have updated to the dark Charleston green at the driveway, and the planters along the greenway we have also updated to the Charleston green. So now the bright green elements, the branding elements will be only at the building, but not around it. Okay. Then, yeah, the one other comment was last time that we talked about the suggestion of considering, the branded letters to be white, and we talked extensively with the client about it, and they are feeling strong that their revised brand signage, they do prefer to keep it bright green because it's very important for them, especially in this new market. About the reducing the logo size, we have talked about that. So we have added the dimensions to the elevations and also calculations based on the zoning. So last time we've been showing it, I estimated at 8 feet, but actually it was 10 feet before, and we have a side-by-side comparison there for what it was before and what it is now. And based on the calculations, so the front facade where we see this logo, right now we're at about, it allows 10% of the facade. And right now at the 8-foot tall hexagon that we are proposing, that would be at about 50% of that requirement. So we're at about 5% of, even though we are allowed to be at 10, right? And then the other side, the back side where the drive up through is, that is allowed to be at 5%, and we're just a little bit under it. So we're still a little bit less than the maximum requirement. And the same thing for the side signage facade. So we are proposing to keep the logo signs consistent, not making it larger on the front facade. And we have reduced it from the last time we have shown you. So it's scaled back down from roughly 10 feet down to 8 feet. the other thing that we have also addressed, so the comment was about the south facing floor to ceiling glass causing interior overheating. So we have basically we will have the motorized shades on all the glass openings where the offices are, but also that, you know, the front facade that is facing the road, and they're going to be synchronized, so they're coming down and going back up at the same time. There are some security measures related to that as well that bank has in place. We're also doing the energy model of the building to make sure that the mechanical systems are appropriately designed for this climate. Last time we have also talked, there was a comment about the decorative brick patterns that need a clear architectural intent. So what we have done, we have removed some of the stock patterns below the windows, and where the drive up is, we had just a brick recess, and we have introduced the greenery there, basically the vines and the trellis there as well. So now we're proposing to do it on two sides, basically where the drive up is, and that the backside of the building as well. And then there was a comment to reduce the amount of pavers next to in front of the building and to add more green space. So we have done that. We pulled basically the facade that is facing the greenway. We have pulled the paving out and introduced the planting strip right up against the building. And we have done that also like around the perimeter. So right now the paving essentially touches the building only where the entry point is, or where the night drop is, or where the door is. And then there was a comment about avoiding to eliminate the green bending elements. So we will not be, so that the dark green band, right, where you see above the green canopy, that all will not be uplighted. We will have some lighting below the canopy, obviously, you know, to light up the pavement, but also for the security measures. So at night, you know, there's a visibility at the bank. And last discussion to one last thing that we have also talked internally to, and I brought some finished samples. We talked about the light color brick, and then the historical context, and, you know, like the precedents around the sites. And we are proposing still to do this cream color brick. It's not painted, it's a solid color, it has texture, and I'll show you the sample of it in a second. So this is the roofing material. Then this is the dark green and the Charleston green. It's a painted, printed color. Obviously, it's not exactly that.
What's the coping material on top of the brick? Is that
what-
stone or is that metal?
That would be the metal, but it will match. Basically, we have some elements like the downspouts. We're gonna find a matching color to match the brick. Is like that.
Have we looked at stone just to add a little more quality to the structure versus metal?
We can consider that, yes. Like the limestone would match it. We go with this brick, yeah.
And then I have a lance.
That's the roofing material and Charleston green and the brick.
We'll leave it here for the time being.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I think that addresses all the comments that you've provided last time, so we're up for discussion.
Chris, how successful are green walls in this climate?
The question was how successful are green walls? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Is there any special thing they should be doing to their green walls? Because we want it to work.
What are the green walls on the building?
Right, so above the canopy, right? So the idea is that,
No, I meant the green landscape walls.
oh, I see what you're saying. Living,
living room.
right.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You're right.
But they look terrible when they don't work.
Right, we will have the irrigation for this site, so that will help to keep plants alive essentially.
Say that again.
We will have irrigation system for this site.
Can you show the elevations that have the
Green wall.
the green wall and what the plant is?
Did y'all include that in the packet?
The elevation, yeah, on the building elevation, well,
Upper left.
okay.
Oh, you're talking about this. I misunderstood. Sorry.
Sure.
Right, so there's this on this side next to the window, and then the other area is next to the drive up.
What is that plant?
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
Carolina Jessamine Espalier, not the LA here, but Carolina Jessamine
Carolina Jazz.
As
Jasmine. Yeah, not the LA, so not my wheelhouse.
I don't know, it's worth the effort.
Carolina Jessamine wouldn't do well. Confederate Jasmine would do well. For Creeping Fig would do well. Or should.
Creeping Fig or Carolina
Yeah.
Jazz. Carolina
Or
Jazz.
Confederate.
Or
Confederate Jasmine.
Confederate Jazz,
Yeah,
but not Carolina.
right.
Right.
Carolina would only grow to it's in the vines and it would only grow on the top rail. Confederate Jasmine would cover the whole thing. That would probably be successful. It's irrigated.
Is it necessary?
That's what they're proposing.
I know, but why bother? Anybody like it?
I do.
I like it, as
Like,
long
yeah.
as it's successful.
As long as it'll live.
Okay,
I think it's beautiful.
okay.
Yeah, and we've looked at, Parkers in few of their locations, they do similar thing, and this, they're building next to us too. They do have some of that feature as well. So we felt that it responds well to the context, but also architecturally, it helps to soften the facade with a lot of brick.
So Creeping Fig or Confederate Jazz.
Yeah, I'll note that for the LA. Thank you.
And it appears, Bill pointed it out, and I agree, but it appears that some of the trees in the parking lot islands are not shown in the
Something's
rendering.
missing.
Was the rendering incorrect?
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But
We
each-
like renderings. We did not try to match every single element in the landscape, and it's more suggestive.
Each island will require a tree, a shade tree.
True. So what's on landscape plans is going to be what documented, right?
Can we go back to the landscape plan real quick? Okay, if you don't mind.
What about the back row of parking? It seems like it was long enough. There should have been another island.
So just remember that
Does
the trees only need to, a parking space needs to be within 60 foot of a canopy tree. So I believe they're meeting all of that.
Did you have a sample of the paving material at the front sidewalk along
For the paving,
Yeah.
pavement,
the pavers?
The decorative papers.
Yeah.
no, we haven't, but we are thinking that it will be something, light colors similar to the concrete finish. So not something that is super contrasting.
So is it a paver or is it just for concrete?
It will be a paver, but it will have the shape, right? So you will see the grid and pattern, but it will not be super contrasting, like, something too contrasted to colors.
And did you provide a detail for the wall and stairs?
I'm sorry,
For the stairs and the retaining wall? Is there a detail for that?
We,
Or can you describe what the materials are?
right. So the retaining wall is intended to be the same light color brick. And the stairs obviously is going to be concrete. And the planters were the retaining wall, same thing. So they would be light brick around like the center section as well.
Is the master developer developing and building all that sidewalk, or they stop at your boundaries and you take over?
I understand that, yeah, it's going to be in this project scope. So the greenway is what you're asking, right? I'm not sure about the down.
So up here on the plan, it says landscape plan by others, but the master developer is gonna put it in, or
Requires it.
master developer
Require
requires it as this is developed. Okay. All right, just gonna say it. I'm not a fan of the white brick. I think I said that last time. But it's not painted. I am in favor of a cream brick or light brown. The last one I think was more in line with what I think would be appropriate here. Still looking. Still, I don't see the historical precedence for this white of a brick. You had references that might have a factor, but for me, this brick is too white for me.
I understand. Thank you for your feedback. Yeah.
That's just me. There's others on the board as well. So,
Didn't
and I
that brick-
understand the notion not to completely have a kind of homogeneous brick throughout this development. I understand. It's just for me, this one is too white.
Thank you for your feedback.
Did that brick match some other buildings then? Is that why you selected it?
Well, so there is a big residential development right across us. I can remember it's a large complex there.
The Claiborne.
Thank you. Yes. So we felt as a design team that fits good with the context of this of the area, and also the residential apartments behind this building. Also, they use light color. They don't use white per se, but they use like light gray and other colors there as well. So we felt that we're not totally introducing something out of the context.
Do you have a site plan that shows that residential
Yeah, there should be a picture. Yeah.
across Berlin Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's like where we show the context. Yeah, so the upper left, I think, all the way up there on the upper left, you can zoom in. Yeah, that complex there. Yep.
It's the Claiborne.
And it's essentially right across, exactly like right across from the, like just down from this building. So.
Chris, did Parker's request white brick?
In town, yes, not this particular one is brown, but yeah, there is one. They use, I think the previous project also showing you some of their locations. They use this light brick.
Parker's has they've changed their bricks over the years. They've had a beige, a white, dark.
Yeah.
Autos, white, though, there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
We have not-
whitewash or something.
To my knowledge, my recollection, we have not approved a white brick for Parker's.
Yeah, but they've always requested white brick, have they not?
The bank,
No, the Parkers.
they've, I don't have clear recollection, but I believe when they have come in, the last one, their initial request was for a white brick. But I think it has some modeling in it.
Yes.
The reason why I ask is because all the Parkers that I've ever dealt with have been white. They've said that they have to do that. Obviously, that's not the case. I don't want to say if Parkers wanted a white brick and we told them no, to then allow it across the street.
I can interject as developer. We're the ones that told Parker, they typically do a whitewash on brick, a lot of their stores. Didn't want a whitewash brick location. But as we previously discussed with y'all, prior meetings, you're trying to create a look that's not homogeneous red brick. Sure. We feel like this meets the intent of the design guidelines that your board has approved. We understand that might not like that particular selection, but what we're trying to create for development is something a little different, a little bit more transitional, if you will, in architecture. And I think we've gone You look at the amount of landscaping that's getting installed, each project is very substantial across the entire belt. So I think these guys have gone the extra mile to try to beat y'all where you want to be. We would ask that you approve the brick.
Actually, looking close up at the brick, I think it's gonna be more taupey. It's gonna be a more
not gonna
lighter,
be bright.
Yeah, it's gonna be white, correct.
not white.
Yeah, it's cream,
White brick.
cream color, yeah.
I can go with the brick. We need to move on. I think we already, we've seen enough of
Was
this.
there any other discussions on architecturally?
I don't know if you caught my side comment. I would want a
White.
precast coping on top of the brick versus metal.
What are we calling the coping?
The top of the brick, top of the wall.
Yeah, where the brick comes up above the
That was
roof,
the gable end,
correct. The edge.
the gable ends of the building? What is that coping?
Right now, I was suggesting it could be, yeah, metal, like metal that matches.
Could be the brick or it could be.
True, could be
concrete.
brick, yes, we can detail that too, right, or the
precast.
cast stone,
So
yes.
Peter's requested precast.
Precast would be fine.
Yeah.
Brick would be fine.
Yeah.
Metal, probably not.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly do the precast of the brick. Brick, like over time, it just shows fluorescence if it's exposed to rain, so that's a maintenance concern, but we can do either.
Any further comments or questions from the board? We talked about colors last time. There was opposition about white letters. We wanted white letters for the green last time. There was logo, or not logo, but the medallion discussion last time. If y'all are good, then you're good.
It's final.
I think we're good.
Yeah, they're asking for final. Okay.
I make a motion to approve this with conditions that you use the adequate plant that's gonna create a lively green wall.
Okay.
You do a precast coping on top of the wall. And everything else that you showed is good.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Did
That
we
was
want to,
for final, right?
Yes.
For final.
did we want to prescribe the plant to be used based on your experience, or did we want to leave it up to the
Creeping fig or
Confederate jasmine? Okay. So that's part of the motion.
okay, anything else? All right, all vote in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so much.
Thank you.
Luck. Next is 105 Midland Parkway.
All right.
Going over, so I'll just stay here.
Oh, yeah, I pulled that out, sorry. So this is 105 Midland Parkway, the new comeback shack on a partially developed lot. Y'all have seen this a few times. I believe mainly we're coming back to discuss architecture this time, as most of the site comments have been worked through in between the preliminary meeting. And today I did meet with the applicant. They have addressed all of our comments as far as landscaping goes. The only item for DRB to consider with landscaping is that the 8-foot buffer on the back of the property is not being met at 8 feet. They do have it at 4 feet. The DRB does have the ability to approve a decreased buffer area. And as I said, architecture, I believe, is the main item of discussion today, and I will hand it over to the applicant.
Josh Williams with Locklear Consulting. I'm here for the site portion of this. just a couple of tweaks, after meeting with staff. Yeah, if you go to that one, added the hedgerow on the north end, and a couple tweaks around the parking area on the page left, the west side. Yeah, we're just asking for final and a waiver of that 8 foot on the rear. It's 4 or a little bit more, and it buffers the parking and drive aisle on the public side.
But you're accomplishing what a buffer needs to accomplish. Since that's a Publix parking lot,
Yes, sir.
I think.
Is.
Yeah.
Side of.
Publix.
All right, any other questions on site?
No.
Anything you need to add? Good, okay. Let's move to architecture.
Actually, I do have a question. Are there any monument signs for this or no?
No.
Okay.
I'm Russell Hopper with Little Diversified Architectural Consulting. And I'm the architect on the job. I believe the comments were the treatment of the gable end and I think some clarification of materiality. I don't have written comments in front of me.
Architecture really wasn't discussed after the conceptual meeting, because the architect wasn't present. So I don't have any comments from the previous meetings for that.
Okay.
So if the board wants to chime in, they can.
All right, does the board recall any comments? Either recall any comments or have any comments on architecture or detailing?
Is this 100% on brand? Is that why there's no raptor tails or any brackets or anything? Because
Yes,
that's not part of.
right.
the
This is
brand?
this is a prototype.
It's actually a pretty good prototype, though. All of them look the same.
Did you do any reference to low country design techniques?
Well, I think, you know, as far as the traditional shapes with the gabled structure, the roof would be kind of like a distressed metal or a rustic metal roof. And let's see, board and batten siding, just generally traditional materials. Pardon?
Large overhangs.
Yes. Board and batten and lap siding along with a rustic brick.
What kind of pitch on the porches?
I'm sorry.
The porches, the porch areas, the covered areas down low, you got some shallow slopes on those roofs. What kind of pitch?
I think the pitch is
1-12.
like 1 to 12. Yeah.
Are they metal or are they?
Metal. All the roofs are, all the exposed roofs are metal. There's a parapet on the right side that would have a membrane roof.
Got equipment behind the parapet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have bollards protecting those columns that's supporting the canopies where the drive-throughs are?
Yes, for those columns, there are, I think that drawing is actually not the latest one that was submitted.
This is the presentation that was submitted.
It is?
Mhm.
Okay. Where they're showing like a fence there, there are planters. And those are kind of acting as bollards for protection of the patio.
What about the columns supporting the canopies over the driveways?
Yes, there are bollards shown.
Okay.
So one of the renderings had yellow bollards where
Those are not, that's, yeah. yeah, that's not the drawing I have in front of me right now.
Can you show us what you have?
Sure.
So those planters just placed in front of these railings?
Planners become the boss.
Yes. I believe one of the comments was to remove the.
That's a lot nicer. This is better. We could approve this over that, correct? Yeah,
Prove that for this.
that or this.
Right.
What he showed us. is good.
This, no, that one, yes.
Do you want to see? Did you?
No, I just am curious about it not being in the packet, like in the record.
I wonder what that's.
So am I.
Is there like a, I guess, is there like a structural element to those, or they're just, is there like a structural element to those planters, or is it just planters in lieu of?
The planners.
In lieu of bollards? I mean, it looks nicer, but is it performing the same safety function?
Yeah.
Are they metal?
They're metal.
Okay.
Full of dirt.
What type of metal? Do you know?
Very good.
I do not know.
Copper.
Looks copper, but
That's
Yeah,
copper.
copper or zinc, yeah.
Can you send that to Becca?
I sure can.
That's what she needs, another material.
Is that the planter right there?
Planters,
Yes,
right?
that's it.
They're great.
Can you describe what it is?
It's metal.
It's just like Corten steel metal that's rusted?
Yeah, it is.
That's the roof.
But we don't know the locations.
They're on his.
Yeah, we do. They're on this drawing,
Yeah, but we don't have the drawing.
but he
The
does
location of the planter.
Well, but we're only-
where the fence is. Where this fence is, that's where his planters are.
Yeah.
Where?
There's a little light.
Oh, down here. So if we're tracking in the right direction, I would say, as long as we're okay with the material, the final locations can be worked out with staff.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good.
I think you got everything together.
Okay. Thank you.
Becca, you had mentioned,
I'm sorry.
the trees fronting Midland Parkway being a concern.
So, we did meet and talk about that, and the arborist was present. There are, in addition to, I believe, some overhead power lines, easements here. And to make the drive aisle work, they wouldn't be able to keep those trees. The arborist didn't have an issue with the removal of those as long as this planting was robust, which we discussed the specific species with the applicant, and he felt that that was appropriate.
I do think it's unfortunate that there's power lines there, but there's a 18-inch live oak to the left on the screen. And if you added live oaks in the end islands, do not appear to be any trees there now. You could put live oaks in those end islands, I would think, where it says 36 Lamondre Breeze grass. I think you could put a couple of live oaks there. You could probably fit one in the island to the right, closer to the building. And maybe even at the angle parking, you could fit another live oak. the end of that parking, or both ends of the parking bay. I think that would kind of create that sense of street trees there and still be outside the power line.
Makes sense.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing is we're using some of that interior, the interior islands with a sand base for the detention, because it's underground detention infiltration. Both on the double loaded row that are head end against each other. There's kind of a rain garden in the middle that's depressed with a under drain that connects to that box. So that's why those islands did not have trees, and it met the requirement, being a small site, that it only required the trees at the perimeter and not in the interior.
It wouldn't be a problem with one by the angle parking all the way over to the right.
I don't think so, particularly not the upper end, probably not.
The
Well,
upper end is, and
Josh, where's your underground detention going?
Where's it going?
Yeah, where is it?
I mean, it's underneath the parking areas, and then
Can't be underneath.
no, just the hatched areas of the parking spaces. It all goes to there with under drains that connects to the boxes that are modified with orifice restrictors and whatnot.
okay, so to be clear, we're talking about the live oak on the angled parking on the north end or the south end?
It's on this. I would advocate
Plains
on both ends.
Agreed.
I think these are existing trees, correct?
Correct. Those are exist.
If there's no room, at least on the south. That would, I think, mitigate for
Yeah,
not having them along the street frontage.
I think you can make that work.
Okay.
There's like a gradient condition.
Josh, could you just shift the underground detention up?
We actually, from a previous iteration, we shifted it down based on talking with the arborist to save that cluster of 4 that are on the north end of those angled spots. So it was shifted down 2 spaces worth probably.
Okay.
That helps a lot.
I think we were originally saving a pine tree that was closer on the south end, but he graded is not worth it.
So it's not underground detention like storage tanks. It's
Not
just-
storage tanks, no.
It's just permeable pavers that are filtering.
Yeah, with the
water into the
under
soil.
drain, yeah. Mhm.
Then you ought to be able to plant trees in the end islands. I would think. I think I'd recommend take that as a recommendation. Y'all evaluate it, and if you can put them in those end islands, put the trees in the end islands. How about that? So it's a recommendation to study that.
Okay. We'll discuss that.
All right. Any other questions or comments, site or architecture? I think the biggest thing was we talked about trees, of course, and then talked about planters. You said could work out with staff. Bill, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Assume y'all are asking for final approval?
Yeah.
All right. Is there someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion, final approval with comments noted.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, also, definitely for sure, those planters are going in.
Yes.
Take place of the law.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yep. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Next is flood airs property.
All right, so this is the commercial portion of the overall flood airs development.
I don't like your gutter.
They previously came before you at our last meeting for preliminary, but they were denied. And the board requested to study the following, the use of solid operable Bermuda shutters, utilize brick where stone is implemented, and look to the brick utilized in the residential portion of the overall development, to consider utilizing pitched roof design rather than flat, update renderings to reflect construction details, landscaping, and site details, so all documents are consistent. Study connectivity in relation to the surrounding development, i.e. how residents will walk to the daycare safely. The vinyl PVC fencing is not appropriate for the site. The frontage that faces Berlin G needs to be enhanced via architecture and landscaping. They asked to study low country details in Somerville vernacular and incorporate details into the design. The board felt that the proposed design overall at the previous meeting was not in line with the approved residential portion of the development and did not reflect Somerville aesthetic. Staff does not have any further comments at this time, so I will hand it over to the applicant.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I'm Marco on behalf of the Crest Group. I have Chris, the site engineer from Thomas and Hutton, and Don from Health Design. I'll let Don take it over as we address many of the comments. He came down from North Carolina to talk to you guys about going in for final approval for this project. Thank you.
Chris. Yeah, just real quick. Sorry, I was just going to jump in. One of the things that was brought up was the connectivity from the units on the southern side. We basically added some additional pedestrian trail from the. You can't. It's kind of hard. There you go. You can see it right there coming from the. It's one that you just had. It kind of blew it up. There you go. You can see it there, where the sidewalks come down and cuts across, and then we have another. There you go. Yep. Sorry, it's actually kind of hard. Yeah, where you kind of did your hand around it with a crosswalk there. As far as that, and then also if you go to the commercial building, there should be a slide that has that on the landscape. There's like a landscape plan. So the same feature that we had at the in front of the large 70-inch live oak, we had basically a water monument with some pillars and fencing that tied back into those units. We've got a smaller version of that exact same thing placed in front of the you can kind of see it there. Yeah, on the street side, yeah. So smaller version of that in front of the commercial component. Okay. Right.
I actually have a generic question for you on the roadways. I live in a subdivision and there's a lot of accidents on these interior roads. Who's responsible for, stop signs or slow signs, or is that 100% the developer?
Well, I mean, since these are going to be private, that would be the responsibility of them. So we will show the stop signs and the details, obviously, with the construction plans, but the maintenance of them would be the responsibility of the.
So you will add something?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you again. My name is Don Ferry. I'm an architect with Health Design out of Charlotte. So I'm excited to present to you the learning experience building here for this project. Some of the architectural features you're seeing certainly emulate and follow some of the residential development that is neighboring next door, as also Chris mentioned. So the front of the building that we have is actually comes in with the parking lot to your right as you're coming through within the development itself. We utilize the double columns, and then we've gone with the red brick here instead of our stone base to be able to bring more of the Somerville surrounding into the project. We've also we've done away with the parapet wall construction in terms of a sloped truss shingled roof. So we were able to take care of the gable ends or incorporate those. The lower left image is what Chris was talking about with the pilasters in between our fences. which is kind of a wrought iron fence to separate, which is also taking the elements from the residential development and incorporating those into this project as well. So you can see, and then on the backside now, my understanding on the PVC fence was if we could make it look emulating that of wood, that would be permissible. That's what we're looking at right now. We can certainly change that material out to being actual wood if PVC is really objectionable. What we like about it is the forgivingness of it and also the maintenance side of the product. It really tends to look good if we can use a grained PVC wood. The fence in the rear is 6 foot tall. We have a 4-foot high fence to make sure that any exit from the sides to bringing children into the play yard in the back is utilized in that direction. If you look at the image page, which is I think the next, there's just some more renderings of the different viewpoints of the project itself. So some of the other inspiration, the 2 or lower images are recent TLE projects, the learning experience, which I've actually completed. So we do have that type of architecture as part of a TLE. They do like the multiple colors, but we've simplified our signage. And so on this slide also, you'll see in the upper right is the Fox Hollow gray color scheme, which was utilized in the residential development. So we're really carrying that whole color scheme through this project as well. So the previous sign actually goes into the signage for that. So we've analyzed the whole signage elements that are on the building itself, including that of Bubbles, the Academy for early, Educational, and then the learning experience sign to just kind of bring that and tie that all around. And that also, sorry, Beth, go back. That is also the dumpster enclosure. So it's taking the brick, bringing that up to 6 feet high so that we can encapsulate the dumpster enclosure itself. This does have actually a metal door on that. And I think Chris's plan shows the dumpster location. Thank you.
Do you have samples of this material? You have brick samples?
I did not bring any brick samples.
What are they asking for? Are they asking for final?
Yes, sir.
It would be the same red brick that was approved last meeting for the residential portion. That's in front of the building.
I'm also confused on your roof elevations. I see the center entry and the peak of the gable is high.
Yeah.
But I don't see that on any other elevation.
In the back, you mean?
Yeah, it should be actually showing up more on the 2 side elevations because it would be proud. The last page, which actually shows the elevation in the 2-dimensional plan of the signage, actually shows that lifting up.
So are the 2 flanking gable roofs lower in height than the main one?
Yes,
Are they equal?
yes, they are. And this is a 3-dimensional model, so I don't know why it's not depicting that. But
What is do you know approximately what the difference is? Is the
I
main
don't.
entrance 2 feet taller than?
It is going to be that way. It's probably closer to, I would say closer to 3 feet on that. We really elevated the front pitch to make it more look, not necessarily a traditional, but try and raise that gable end of the front entrance to make it more pronounced and accentuate that in terms of the overall pitch.
So are these, the rendering kind of is confusing me a little bit as well. Is the center of this building a flat roof and there's just pitches on the ends like a tilted parapet?
There are pitches all the way around the roof, flat middle as a pool, if you will, that will not be seen because that's actually where all the mechanical equipment is. So it is actually depressed around a perimeter of sloping roof.
That's why the elevations and things are not matching because the roof is not going all the way through. The gable is not going all the way through.
That is correct. The gable does not show up on the backside because it only goes for 15 feet in within the building.
What's the approximate dimensions of this building?
It's 125 by 80, 10,000 square feet.
Well, it seems like in the one of those, not this elevation, it was a different one, a different rendering. You could see that it wasn't a roof that projected through, and it looked kind of funny. Becca, was there another?
The next slide.
They have architectural elevations or just rendering it?
Yes, like maybe it was that one.
Yeah. But the previous slide, I think, shows the rear corner of the building.
Back left corner.
The back left, yeah.
That's when you can really see that it's not, or even the right, it's like, that's not a real roof. I think it does, if you can tell that it's kind of a false roof.
Well, you can't tell from
So
one
along the
location.
property line.
So what is the depiction that you want to build? Because I'm totally confused from the elevation to some of these renderings,
Well, the renderings in the elevation should match, and
but they don't.
well,
So just show me the best image.
I thought they match, it's just a matter of pupil.
correct. So if in the previous slide, the front elevation is what we would be looking for in the upper left. What's missing on the two lower images is just how that higher roof would come over.
You went to the building elevation, the architectural drawings,
Right.
Becca. You can see the
It's a-
peak of the center entrance
On that right side,
level with the continuous roof line.
right?
So it's not higher.
That's in the back.
It's higher than the other two, though.
Right.
So you look at the front elevation, side elevation, no, the front elevation is higher.
Yeah.
Center. Actually, the height of the left and right.
And I assume you don't have a roof plan showing this depression or the.
I don't have that in part of the submission now.
The only place you can really see the buildings from what direction. Site.
It would be coming from within the development, or as you're driving down.
You see the front, go back, okay, you see the front, somebody in,
Right.
you have woods and playground and everything else hiding in the back. We have trees and property lines, earthway hiding in the right hand side. Left hand side. Yeah, there's no viewport.
Parking lot.
You only have a viewport of front. But really though, the only viewport you got is from front. Maybe the left side.
There's a big live oak in front of it.
Which is wonderful. That's great.
Huge live, yeah.
Right.
So what we're worried about looking at from the back, you'd have to be standing on your head or somewhere to see it.
Not gonna see it.
You're not gonna see it.
You'll see it. I mean, you will see it from inside the buildings. Because they're
From
all
inside.
they're 2 and 3 story buildings adjacent to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But you're right, driving by or walking by, sounds like you won't see it.
Drive by, walk by, you won't see, you just see the front. From the, you have very little windows in your end walls of those residential buildings. You don't have much view out of those things from the end walls. I think they've done what we've asked them to. Pretty much.
I'm unsure why the left side of the building's elevation didn't, with the raised peak, didn't make it into the submission, but the front of the way you see the front of the building is the way it's going to be on the left and the right side.
With the center gable being higher.
Yes, yes.
All right, any other comments? Candy, do you have any other comments? Peter?
Is there a reason why you didn't continue the brick base on the back elevation? Besides monetary?
Well, it's within the playground area itself, and since we have a solid fence going all the way around it, it really wasn't visible other than the kids inside the playground.
We also got a comment from the operator that hence the reason why we moved to a PVC fence. Same thing with the brick. The kid falls on a sharp corner. They prefer hard surfaces out of the playground area.
Makes sense. I really think it's a major improvement on the front elevations. Very pleasing. Looks like it belongs there. I think the other ones are left and right are a little stark, but I think they're fine. I really do. And then the back is very functional for what it is, for children to play back there.
Any other comments? Comments on, they discussed, fencing, PVC, wood grain.
Is there a site plan that shows the extent of the fencing?
Yeah.
Can you outline it?
So if I may, the fences that go around the playground equipment is really what's a solid PVC. So it's really just in the back. Once you get in front of the rear wall, that would then go to the lower open picket black iron fence. So we really just opened that up. That's why the brick on those sides, you can see that opportunity. So it's really just for the protection and safety of the children that the PVC is really in the back.
So just for clarity, you're referring to this fencing as the iron?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. And that would be on both sides. So it's a lower fence along the building sides and the PVC taller is just in the back.
So 4 foot between the building and the parking lot.
That is correct.
All right. Any other, questions, comments?
I'm in support of the PVC fencing for the safety reasons cited.
Justin, anything?
No.
Okay. Bill, anything else?
I think the PVC fence will be fine.
All right, so let's go ahead and, they're asking for final approval. They are missing some samples. The bricks match what we approved last time for that. White PVC is white PVC.
No, it's not white PVC. It's wood grain PVC. Yeah. It's a gray wood grain PVC. As you can see, it's not a flat.
The
white.
fence.
It's great. And I
Yeah.
believe it's also a two-tone.
It's detailed.
Yeah, it's two-toned as well.
It was white, and after last hearing your comments, we changed it to a wood grain.
And a gray.
And what's the siding material of the building?
The siding material, it's gotta be a hardy lap siding.
Okay.
With the hardy also makes the board and batten.
Typically we have a sample board,
All of that.
call them out. I think if the board is tracking towards approval, then I think I would suggest samples need to be approved by a subcommittee of the board.
Agree.
So, all right, I'm gonna call for the motion. Could someone make a motion, please?
What, before we do that, what was the You were doing such a good job of taking notes. Well, were there any conditions that we were talking about besides the samples?
I think one condition is this front elevation needs to be the building shape of the building. So disregarding everything else and things that don't coordinate, I think everyone's in agreement that this front elevation is the final design solution. Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that approve with the front elevation as shown on the slide being the final design of the front elevation, and that materials, a material board be provided for review and approval by a subcommittee of DRB.
That'd be great.
Do you need any clarity, Becca, on subcommittee? Okay. All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Good to see you.
We'll get you those samples and you won't be disappointed.
Thank you, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, next is 615 North Cedar. Everybody okay or need a break?
I need a break.
All right,
What?
5-minute break.
Oh.
Oh, it's something. Yeah. Your card. So you didn't see it? You didn't see it? Doesn't matter, does it?
I'm so tired of being in the car. But, you know, that's right. We're supposed to. I actually.
Did you catch the comment about that?
It honestly picks up a lot more than I thought. See? Right.
Every year. Every month.
You know, it's funny when I read the transcripts that we have now, we can't accommodate for Bill's accent. So some of the stuff it says, is like, we approve a Maryland boy ordinary, or like, you know, it just like says. And I get it, yeah. There's water fountain. Yep. They should come to bar. This was. I would go there. I mean, I haven't watched it.
I was, yeah. I feel like you should ask us.
I wish we had. The construction was. Yeah. And there's some pretty wide shoulders. It's like. It's 600 wide now, central line. Down Main Street, from earlier. Right, like there was walking into the gutter for the shoulder.
Okay, I will go through the staff report quickly. So this is for Sawmill Crossing, new construction of a multifamily building at 615 North Cedar Street. They are requesting final approval. Previously, they came before you for preliminary. At the May meeting, in general, there were not many concerns with the site overall. Once the board had talked through both landscaping and pedestrian connectivity options for the site, further study of the bioswale basin, and how the parking area and building frontage relate to the street was requested. The board agreed that they were okay with the applicant moving forward with submitting their site disturbance, MS4 permits. The board expressed that they felt the applicant had not addressed how they arrived at the proposed design and that the design did not reflect Somerville vernacular. The board requested that the applicant restudy the design and pull design elements from the town's historic district and surrounding downtown area. This project has received tree protection board approval. The applicant will need to work with the staff arborist on their mitigation plan, and this will be handled through the site permitting review. The applicant will need to clarify what the dumpster enclosure will be comprised of. Bicycle parking will need to be added to the site, and both of these items can be addressed at a staff level through site permitting review. All right, I'll hand it over to y'all.
Hey, I'm Josh Tiller with JK Tiller Associates. We're the landscape architects. I've got Allison Asmus here. She's representing the ownership, David Maurer, who's our architect. And I'm kind of walk you through some of the site changes we've made since the last meeting. And then David's gonna jump on here and walk us through the changes to the building. Could you pull up Becca, could you pull up the color plan? And I'll start at the bottom of the page and kind of work my way back. At the bottom of the page there is 5th Street, Highway 78, and we've been coordinating with the county and SCDOT and their consultants. We were able to get a plan representing this intersection along with the Cedar Street improvements. So what currently there are no sidewalks on the entire block around our property. And what we're showing there is the sidewalk proposed by SCDOT. And if you notice, there's a light red line just south of that sidewalk. That represents the future edge of pavement for that intersection. And so they have that sidewalk wrapping around and then just ending there just to the left of the building. And there'll be a crossing over to the other side of the street where there's an existing sidewalk on the other side of Cedar Street that runs the length of Cedar. So we're showing that future sidewalk and our connection to it. And one of the first comments from the board here was that we ought to create a more inviting area at the entrance, an outdoor plaza area, and we've created this brick line plaza. And at each corner, we place these, I think they're 4.5 foot tall columns, brick columns with a concrete cap on top. And between each of those columns, running parallel to that sidewalk, we've added a podocarpus hedge and added some benches on the inside of that hedgerow. The next item you'll discuss, if we go back towards that bio basin, there's a lot of discussion about opening up that bio basin to the public, and moving the fence line that was to the Cedar Street side of that bio basin. We've moved it over between the parking, that sidewalk just to the left of the parking there, and that runs parallel the length of that parking area. And what we've got at each end, we've got 6.5 foot columns there, brick columns that flank that entrance. If you notice on the bottom left there, there's a walk that extends out and will provide a safe crossing there to the sidewalk across Cedar Street. But as you enter from that side of the street, there'll be 2 6-foot columns just where the planting strip is. If you move your cursor just to the right, there's 2 columns flanking that entry, and it terminates at those plantings at that the end of that parking bay, where we've got that tree at the end of the parking bay. But as you turn to the top of the page, where that cursor is now, we've got that fence. That's that black coated. It's a black hog wire fence, timber fence. It'll be painted that Charleston green. And then at each end of that fence line, we've got 2 more columns at the other end where we've got that sidewalk access into the site. And then as you continue to the right, back towards the main entrance, we run that same fence along there, and it's flanked by those same columns, and we'll incorporate the signage into that last column there as you enter off of 6th Street. And then that fence line picks up again on the other side of that two access lanes. But one thing we've done with that bio basin, we've introduced some bald cypress into that to create more of that ecological look to the bio basin. We're going to work with our civil to improve kind of maybe bring in that Hogarth's line of beauty along the left side of that bio basin to help soften that edge more, rather than have that more I guess parallel line along that edge. But we're massaging that once we get into site development permitting. But those are the big changes since the last meeting related to site specific issues. And unless you want to ask questions now, or I can get David to start talking about the changes we've made to the architecture.
Yeah.
I had thought there's going to be a public sidewalk.
There is.
There is one that runs parallel.
So just to clarify, there is a portion of the ordinance that basically, if site constraints do not allow a sidewalk to be installed as we would typically require, the applicant is able to come up with an alternative plan for review. So I'm assuming because of the encroachment of the widening, that is why it's okay.
They got a sidewalk at full length of Cedar Street
Correct.
on the other side of Cedar Street, and they've got access at 3 points to that public sidewalk.
Correct.
That ought to be enough for anybody to walk on Cedar Street.
So instead of having a public sidewalk on this side of Cedar Street,
It's on the other side.
it's on the other side, but on this side, they could walk along the cars on the colored plan.
Yeah, they can come in, walk along the parking lot if they want to.
But not along the
Yeah.
building facade.
They really
Well,
walk.
oh, that's a good point. Yeah, not on the building.
Is this mid-block crossing the one we're looking at right here? Have you guys talked to DOT about that crossing being allowed? I'm just curious.
We've had some challenges with communication with them.
Yeah.
So
Per usual.
that's kind of where we are right now. But
Okay.
that is the plan, is to have a safe crossing there, have a striped crosswalk there.
Okay.
Come on down and show it.
But I know in their plans for the
Down.
what,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm just pointing it out because I think that the intersection crosswalks make total sense. I'm sure they'd be in support of that. I'm wondering about this mid-block one.
Probably wouldn't be allowed.
You said it wouldn't be allowed? No, I can almost guarantee it.
No. But
Which
you
is
get
bad.
You get across the street right there and they give you access across the street. That's all they can do for you.
Why would the sidewalk not run along the building to connect?
well, if you look at that, it's really tight in there.
The red line is the edge of pavement, right?
Correct.
I think when DOT builds roads, they automatically add a sidewalk when they're doing it.
They're just not showing it on their plans. And that's why we kept it out of there. We're just representing what they've shown on their plans, especially on Fifth Street. But they lacked any on Cedar because they're widening our side of Cedar and they're keeping the sidewalk and the road edge in its current location on the other side of Cedar.
I think we typically would advocate for sidewalks there. I think in this case, and y'all can chime in, but in this case, it would be left to coordinate with staff. That'd be my feeling.
Yeah. See if they can do it.
Right.
I agree. I think there needs to be a public sidewalk
Yeah, we're,
on that side of the street. It looks like it would fit. I actually think when you get to the bioswale, the public sidewalk should be on the public side
They have
of
to
the
have-
fence.
they have to have
Versus
the
having to
sidewalk
go
along
through.
the spaces. They have to have the sidewalk.
Well, they can have both then.
So, yeah.
yeah, I think we're okay with that.
Okay, so it'd run the length of the property line then.
Yeah, the challenge is there is that large specimen tree there. We can work around it, but it's likely that that tree, when DOT does its widening of Cedar, that tree will be taken. So we'll accommodate it
Mhm.
for the sidewalk, but
Well, no, I was not suggesting or thinking, maybe that it's a continuous straight sidewalk along Cedar, that it actually jogs a little bit into your property,
yeah, that's,
but is on the fence, the public side of the fence, a sidewalk.
well, what that ends up doing, we've got the sidewalk at the head end of those
Right.
parking spaces. Are you saying just on the other side of the fence?
Yep. So another sidewalk.
He's saying along closer to the street.
Or if you can fit one, that's gonna be parallel with the one at Fifth going north, then that's fine too.
Yeah, I think that's the better option
Yeah.
because we're gonna get in some grading. It'll impact that biobasin area,
Okay.
but we
But
can.
the sidewalk. Spend a lot of time on the sidewalk. But when it goes through the bio basin, it might be able to become a boardwalk. Or 15 feet or whatever it is. That's been done elsewhere. But I think that is a staff thing. I mean, I think we advocate for it. We want it, but at the end of the day, I think that is a staff issue.
I like that idea.
All right, want to jump to architecture?
I'm David Mauer with Tightline. It's good to see you guys again. One other thing I want to add to that conversation, the sidewalk, is these are apartments that if we did add a sidewalk along the side of the building, I mean, we're right up against bedrooms and living rooms. Just keeping in mind that people are living 5 feet away from people walking up and down. So I think that's,
You don't want to do that.
I would want to live on that first floor with
Well-
people walking around. So
I mean, that
That's
happens
true.
everywhere in any urban area.
We're creating an urban situation here.
And furthermore, if we're trying to shoehorn a sidewalk in between the future back of curb and the building, then that means at minimum, the road's gonna be 5 feet from this. So I don't know that I buy that. Furthermore, the sidewalk and this, none of it's gonna get constructed till 2029. And SCDOT has a history of, once you put it in, they will replace it. But sometimes they don't. One of the reasons, at least in NCDOT, which is a different state, I understand that, but if it's not there, they won't replace it. I don't know how SCDOT is, but looking at the tip for the next 10 years, this is not gonna be under construction until 2029. Just to throw that
You're
out.
saying the sidewalk.
I'm
It's
saying
okay.
install the sidewalk now, and
Yes.
as the chat's committee member, I know it's not gonna be constructed until 2029.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's a waste of time because nobody walks on Cedar Street anyway.
That's not the point. Well, that's a different
It is.
conversation.
We're wasting a lot of time and money on people that don't walk.
Y'all, if
That-
I could interject, the planning department does review the projects while they go through site permitting. So this is something that would be addressed through their MS4 site permitting, and the engineering department would be involved. We'd be working with SCDOT to try and figure out the best solution with the applicant. I just wanted to make that clear that, after it leaves y'all's hands, there's still additional reviews that go through, especially in relation to the sidewalk and figuring out what would be most feasible to meet the requirements of the ordinance.
Let's
Yeah.
let them have.
We don't have to figure it out. Staff, they figured it out. There's an ordinance in place that figures it out. So whether they show it on these plans or not, there's more than likely gonna be a sidewalk right there.
All right, architecture.
Okay. In your packet, you've seen all of the changes we've made, all the precedents. I think it was a really great exercise for us to really kind of look more closely at Somerville and look at the details. I'm not going to go through all the details. There's precedent images and the justification for what we did. I do want to point out two things. In the packet, there are drawings of the previous one. And I don't know if it was intentional that it was in there so that you could see what was in there, but I just want to make sure we're not asking for that approval. I think it was, wasn't it toward the end, Ally? It's after the floor plans. Whoop. No, go back up. It's a black and white elevation. drawing.
Three-story brick is not what you.
Yeah, those are the old ones there. So we're not asking for that approval. It's just like for reference in case anybody wants to see it. The other thing that happened, because we had that 2-week deadline after the last meeting to turn things in, we looked a little bit closer at awnings and decided that the renderings actually show the awnings that we want to use, which are more of a metal, thinner, sort of more commercial looking awning than the more residential brackets and all of that. We're still keeping the brackets at the top, but we'll have that metal awning. That's what's shown on the window up at the top of the tower. And then all of the other entry doors around the building will have that metal awning as well. So that's a difference in the drawings. I do have a question about, we're on the fence about an issue, but I'll bring it up. I can ask that if there's any questions or comments on what we presented.
I noticed that there was not a clear north elevation nor a clear east elevation of this building. Can you explain what's happening there?
It's in if you go to the black and white drawings. I mean, we just rendered the sort of public views.
But that's a public view too. Certainly the north elevation is very visible.
Those were.
And I guess what it looks like to me is that it is hardy board from ground all the way up blue. Which I don't.
Just on the stair tower.
Hmm. I mean, you can see it right there.
No, that's a rendering issue. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, well,
That is
it-
the corner.
again, it's
You're-
very
you're right.
confusing.
It's a rendering issue. No, that brick wraps, that stair tower itself is the only thing that goes down, and it does have a brick base to it. It doesn't go down.
Okay, but the two-story brick.
No, the stair tower that you see with the windows in it has a brick base under the lower window at the ground level. The corner that you see there
Right.
has the two-story brick. That is the corner of the building. If you go to the other rendering,
But that's obviously not shown, right? You're saying that, and I agree, that's what it should be.
yeah, there it is down there. The video, you guys got the link to the video. You saw it?
No.
No.
Video.
Video, no.
Okay, we did send it.
It didn't work.
There we go.
I'm gonna go.
And we did extend it.
There it is.
No, that's not it.
Cedar Street.
So that's what you're talking about. See, there's the brick.
But you're saying that is the blue siding all the way to the ground, or is that brick? The rendering is wrong.
Was there a water table of brick there?
There's a water table brick on the stair tower.
Why would you not continue the brick? 2 stories.
Can you keep going? Okay, so let me clarify. We can go back to the rendering. Just that center element right there is the stair tower. The brick wraps. I don't know why the movie didn't pick it up. If you could go to that courtyard view that we were talking about.
Right there.
Yeah. So that brick will actually wrap around, that's a residential unit. That will wrap around that,
Where the car is.
where the car is, yeah.
So those
Then
two
the stair
windows.
Sticks out.
So will the 2-story brick be continuous from Cedar Street to where we see it now?
That was not our intention. Only the stair tower penetrated that because it's a projecting element. So it wraps to
But-
the stair tower.
Then that's a unique situation because you have brick. The only place you have the blue hardy board is on a balcony. Everywhere else, it's a 2-story brick facade. And I guess, not to get into a debate, is it possible to wrap the brick 2 stories so that it is continuous from Cedar Street to where it's re-engaged right there?
That blue area.
If that gets us final approval today, absolutely. It is possible, certainly. And we can look at it.
So,
Why don't we make that a condition?
Because it actually, you can barely see it and just being very transparent, the same condition happens at the very left end. You can see a blue tower in there.
We're not there
We're
yet.
doing we're
I would-
treating that the same way.
We're not there yet because that was the other elevation I couldn't figure out.
well,
So if you can continue the brick.
Yeah.
The 2-story brick.
Yeah.
Continuous around the base of the building, except where you have the balconies, where where the,
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
The question I have for you guys, and it was brought up last time about the gable. Can you go to the Cedar Street rendering or something? That one's fine. we wanted to look up, I'm, again, being transparent, I'm not completely convinced of the gables on top of the porches. As we looked around the neighborhoods and stuff like that, there's certainly plenty of gable porches over roofs. There's also a predominance of shed roofs over like bungalows, right? So we could go either way.
I like the gable, that sells the building.
But
I like the shed.
it's side by side comparison. There's the gable, there's the shed.
Yeah, I don't like the shed.
Shed, but it's-
The gable, the
But is
gable
that-
sets the roof off.
I guess the question I'm asking is what, both of them are found in the district, is it just a personal
gable.
preference? Is it, you can't say that a shed is not appropriate. because
No,
it is.
but otherwise your roof line is too flat and too uniformly flat. You put the gables in like I suggested last meeting, and as you did, I like it because it breaks up that uniformity.
More
Let
articulation.
me ask you this, would you be open to the gables being open-ended? So they didn't look as Georgian?
Yeah, but why would you do it?
Well, you still have the breaking it up, but
Oh, I
to
know
me,
you would,
it's,
but I mean,
it's
why
adding
would
too
you?
many architectural styles here. That's what, and again, I'm not an architectural person, but you have the triangle of the gable. Okay, I get that. But then you have the pedestal or the tower there to the left of it using more of a low country architecture. And it just seems like we're mashing all of these together in an effort to compromise between the shed roof and the gable. Because I agree with you, the shed is, now that I look at it, you're right, it's gonna look flat. It's not gonna look like it's intended.
Yeah.
Can we
roof
keep
line.
it open?
I also think the shed roof creates a pragmatic problem when it rains. Because then all the rain is shut, assuming you don't have gutters. All the rain is just shutting down the face of the balconies.
We'd have gutters. Even the shed, if you look at those renderings, we didn't show gutters on there, but we would, and we would have a single gutter running down. This, we'd have gutters on the sides of those areas because we don't want water falling 4 stories.
I think what you got right now works real well. Personally.
Yeah, we honestly, we were just torn after doing a lot of the research in the historic districts here. And then the low country and Somerville historic aesthetic, I could see it going both ways. And it's 4 stories up in the air. So you're going to get a roof line variation just 3-dimensionally. You're never going to look at it straight on.
But this view, it looks a lot better with the triangles formed by the gables.
I also want to add,
Opposed to the flats, left and right.
Do you agree?
I probably prefer the gable.
Okay. I'll stick
Um,
with the gable. It's not a problem. I wanted to look at it because it just wasn't complete. We were having the same internal debate that's going on right here. So I thought it was worth at least doing the renderings to show you guys.
First of all, I want to compliment you for the effort you did and the attention to detail that you showed as far as precedents and then how you reflected that into your design. So kudos
Thank
to
you.
you.
I think.
But I think you need to go a little more, another step. So this 2-story brick wall, which is me as a pedestrian walking down the street is going to be exposed to, it doesn't have enough texture. It still looks commercial, industrial because of the flat plane. And I think if you look at some of the details and precedents that you actually cited, the lintels above a typical historic window is projected out. And I don't know, I thought I saw maybe on one elevation, the raised brick, projected brick, you did it continuously along a line. But then when you did it as a header, you made it flat
This one
against the
So
wall.
let me,
If you pulled it out and gave more texture to that wall just by, projecting some brick, which you did, but certainly the brick above the windows, which is a
Just put
heavy
word-
lintel, and that's part of historic low country architecture. And again, you can look at your own reference photos. I think that would add to, again, not having a commercial looking brick.
Just put.
let me clarify. We are doing what you're saying.
Good.
So if you go to, actually, I mean, it's hard to show in this rendering, but
Yeah, I can see it's
Yeah.
there. It's
So-
below the window. It's there. It's
the
not.
pilasters are proud of the brick.
Beautiful.
That row lock, which we cited downtown, is projecting across there.
Beautiful.
The headers over the windows, the soldier headers are also projecting, so it creates a shadow line. And
Beautiful.
then at the top.
Yeah, here you can see
There you
it's
go. You
flat.
got
Yeah,
But if you,
that's,
but
we
if
can
you,
project that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
we can
commit, you're
project
gonna
that.
project that
Everything
out.
else is projecting out to give a shadow line, and then the pilasters go up, and then there's the projecting soldier, and then the roll up on top to create another shadow line. Those anchor the corners, those do turn the corner, it's not just a face, so it turns the corner.
Yep.
So yeah, we certainly can add that, because that's what we did with the headers over the upper windows. We're using a 2x material to take
Yeah.
a shadow, just to reference the head details in the historic districts. But yeah, those soldiers, maybe that's a red thing. We could,
And then one other little detail. You put the roof bracket at the tower. But right there, at the tower.
Yep.
But I believe that the roof bracket doesn't have to support a, like a gable roof. It should be underneath the flat roofs.
we can't do that. There's too many brackets. Those
I
things are
think that's,
expensive.
again, if you just study it. Too many, those rafter tips. That's part of low country architecture.
But we were specifically looking at what we found in something.
I know. if you
In
look at-
downtown, we found plenty of cornices that didn't have continuous brackets, so we chose, there are plenty of downtown buildings that we cited that have panels, a cornice like that, without the brackets.
I would just,
I
if
mean,
you,
what we typically see is a lot of dental molding.
I think what you did is just right.
I think, again,
Just right.
and I'm not making this a requirement,
Yeah.
I'm just, the more we talk about low country architecture and into the details, I think the better everyone can feel, at least I can feel.
I think they,
That if you look at the elevation, you look at your slope roof of the tower, and then you look at the bracket,
we got a 4-story
I
building.
think you're gonna,
Low country architecture. I think they've done well
Yeah.
enough. I believe it alone. Let's move on.
Sure, I'll talk to I'll talk to the contractor and see what we can do. I mean, maybe we could do them at the corners or something. Let me look at it.
I think it'd be worth you quickly going over the low country and Somerville precedents, because it was a good job of the presentation, but I think it needs to be said. what
can
you
we
did.
go through those slides?
Needs to be said.
It needs to
The
be
drawing,
said.
the drawings aren't
No, this,
part of
this,
the evidence?
this is, a lot of people listen to this meeting. I think it's worth you spending just a couple of minutes
Okay,
talking
sure.
about what you've
Sure.
done.
If we can, actually, the Word doc's probably the best thing. So on the brick cladding, we did look at a lot. There's no 3-story brick buildings here, so we dropped the brick
So again, I
down.
just want to point out the right-hand photograph, you can see the rafters coming through on a flat cornice. And I think that's very elegant. Versus.
You know those aren't rafters, right?
What's that?
You know those aren't rafters,
Those are
right?
brackets.
Those are
Brackets.
brackets underneath a cornice. It's a cornice detail, but yes. The projecting pilasters is the next one that we did for the brickwork, which we show several examples there. Scrolling down to,
Will you do the horizontals too? Or just pulling the pilaster out? as
the
a whole?
pilaster. So what we're doing is in this next one, the projecting brick soldier and Rolock at the top of the building, at the top of brick that we found downtown is on our building, as well as the projecting soldier continuous under the windows is in the drawings. The siding, we did switch to a horizontal siding, which is a much more predominant. I honestly could not find any board and batten in your historic districts. I know it's low country, but I like searched up and down the streets and I couldn't find it. If it is, it might be up in a gable or something, but it's not a main siding and certainly not a
There are a
big
few-
body.
There are a few little cottages.
Yeah,
Man, that's it.
right. But it's not as in terms of the amount of siding here. So we
Right,
did
but-
make that. Yeah, so we made the switch to, hardy lap siding. There's the wall cap or the cornice under the cap that we sort of interpreted, where you've got panels and vertical elements above the windows, below the cornice. The stacked, so we found a couple of examples of the porches with a gable roof over. I mean, obviously there are many porch roofs. There was we had a hard time finding like stacked porches, but there was the inspiration. One of the things that we caught in that is before we had, as you frame it, it's much more simple to do a flush frame beam with the floor, but it tends to make the floor look really skinny. Historically, you would have had a drop beam, so that's what we did for all of the roofs on the porches as well as the floors. Columns, we use this one as an inspiration. You know, there's always a base trim, a head trim, and then there's this little wrap trim about 8 inches down below the head that we're doing on all of ours, all of our columns. The window trim, there was a comment last time about we had 1/1 windows and we switched to these 2/2. I was actually surprised at how many 2/2 windows I found in Somerville. I mean, it is a really, there must have been a window manufacturer, like a trim guy, that a cabinet maker that was making those, because they're everywhere here. The head trim, as you see all over town, is pronounced in some way, which is why, and to your point, we will project the soldiers over the brick. Corner tower feature, let's see, the sign. Oh, we did relocate the sign. We looked at sign placement, and those are actually the picture on the bottom right is sort of the inspiration for that little shed awning that we're now going to use. Let's see what else. Brackets. We did, you notice that we actually emphasized the main entry with double columns. All of the other porches were just single columns. Railing.
All right. I appreciate you. I think you did a very commendable job with touring Somerville, identifying architectural features and incorporating that into your design.
Thank you.
So thank you for doing that.
I think it did a super job.
Thank you very much.
Kudos.
One question I had was, what is overlooked sometimes is the underside, the ceiling side of these porches, particularly the decking. How is that finished or colored or painted or?
So it's a South Carolina requirement, South Carolina housing requirement, that it can't be unfinished or exposed framing. So we do a soffit material. I don't know that we've selected that yet, but we can work with staff on that. I mean, it's supposed to look like a board and batten.
Okay.
I think we use one that, like a board and batten ceiling that has, it's perforated, so water can fall through it.
I think I'm sure you know, but one of the things you see in a lot of porches, Bill, you probably know more than me, is the light blue.
Light blue
for the
finished
ceiling.
beadboard.
You know why that is?
Yeah.
Why it's light blue?
Well,
Paint blue.
it's paint blue, but it also confuses the mosquitoes and they go to the top. That's the.
It keeps the
Looks like
spirits
it's
away
got-
too. There's two reasons.
Well,
Yeah.
Mosquitoes and
that's the
spirits.
paint blue window trim.
That's the
Ceilings are look like
that's the
sky.
belief.
Sure, I'd love, yeah, I will look into light blue ceilings. That
But
would
you
be
could use
pretty
beadboard on porch ceiling finishes like that.
Yeah, right now it's a deck board, so water has to go through it. It's not a finished.
Well, you better not leak.
Right.
All right. Anything else you need to tell us? Want to tell us?
I'm good. Thank you.
I did have one other comment actually. Is I think the outbuilding, this little pavilion, it doesn't really, to me, I'd like you to explain it, but it does, to me, it doesn't belong architecturally. It looks like maybe it's the roof. It doesn't, I get the columns look right, the roof doesn't look right to me, it appears to be asphalt shingles, which doesn't look right to me, but if you could explain kind of what your thoughts were on that.
Honestly, you can condition that to be a gabled form. I think that would be better. Now that we've gone to these gable roofs, honestly, we didn't rethink that. We had the the hip roof over the tower. And so we pulled it into there, but this is obviously steeper. I agree. I think we'll detail the columns the same as the porch columns and condition that to have a gabled.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Would you use a metal roof?
I can't promise that, honestly.
Somerville, and Bill and I sometimes disagree on this. Somerville is known for black metal roofs. It's kind of unique to Somerville. I think that would look appropriate here.
You could use a nail strip, which is about the same price as asphalt architectural shingles. Nail strip ain't real expensive, but it looks good. Stainless steel metal. But it's nail strip. And on an outbuilding is really appropriate.
Like a 5V10?
No, it's called nail strip. It's about 12 inches wide, and you nail strip down. You don't screw it with clips or anything. Just nail one side down and the other side clamps down. I put it on my carport 15 years ago. It hadn't leaked a drop since. Ever leaked. But it's about the same price as architectural shingles. It's the cheapest metal going other than.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Other than 5V.
Is that going to be a condition or a recommendation?
It'd be a condition for me. Yeah.
Okay.
But that takes care of the $1 issue with metal. It doesn't break the bank.
All right.
You can get it in any color.
Right.
Did we talk about sample board and actual materials and staff's gonna look at it or what?
We brought those last time.
We've seen samples last time, I
The
think.
brick is the same brick as the, am I oriented right? As the Hutchinson sign. And then there was the blue and the white.
I think I would say submit it to staff just to verify. If there's issues, then we'll take it up at that time. All right. Any further discussion before I call for a motion? All right. Would someone like to make a motion? They're asking for final approval.
Make a motion, final approval. Comments noted.
So comments would be underside of the porches, the outbuilding, that's a gable, metal you described.
2 stories of brick on the one corner, on Cedar Street corner.
Continuous 2-story brick.
Except for the stair tower,
Say it again.
except for the stair tower, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, you mean this stair tower? I don't know. It's hard to, it's an anomaly. You know, where you have the blue on the balconies, that makes sense. You have that. But then on these 2 elevations, which are not clearly drawn, I don't know if the blue is appropriate. I would let you study that and use your sensitivity. I think the white.
Yeah, I share a concern. I'll look at it.
What would that be, the northwest corner?
Well, there's a stair tower at the other end as well. Can you go to the floor plan? And I'm sorry, I know everybody wants to get out of here.
We could just refer to the northwest corner of the building. Get about the stair tower, just call it northwest corner.
like say everywhere but the stair towers.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's rendered, you can see on that's the end we're looking at. The intention was just the tower. It was gonna go down lower to break the brick continuous. That bay of that bedroom in the upper unit should have shown brick terminating.
So we could say everything but
But
the
it is a
stair,
different element. It's a stair tower.
everything but the stair towers and everything but the balcony towers, right?
Did we talk about a follow-up DBR review on details just to make sure that?
Subcommittee like we did earlier.
Because this is a.
Are you saying?
This is a critical project, and I think the details should be.
I think what you're saying is one of the conditions is it would go to a committee of DRB to verify that all these little elements have been taken care of.
Review permit drawings.
Does that mean we wouldn't get a final today?
No, it means you get final approval. Just have to submit to staff. Staff would email us and say, hey, we got the revised drawings in, take a look real quick.
Permit drawings are submitted, we go look at the permit drawings.
Like a TCO.
Does that affect your time
Sure,
frame?
that's fine.
I mean, we're gonna get a final today, but then it goes, I mean, just like conditioning.
It's
it
final with
back.
conditions. It's just final with conditions. It's,
I think you want to study some of these things too, don't you?
Yeah, I wanna look back at
Right.
that, and clarify some of the notes on there. But just to be clear, we're talking about, yeah, you wanted details on the underside of the porches.
mhm,
We're gonna pronounce the soldier over the windows.
mhm,
We're gonna look at the brick detailing at the stair towers.
mhm.
All other brick detailing except the stair towers and the porch insets will go to at least 2 stories. Right?
Yeah,
You're also gonna look at the blue color on the north end, on the stair, above the stair, that it should be, I think it should just be a continuation like this
White.
roof color or ceiling color?
wall,
Wall. Okay.
but I'll let you study that.
I mean, that would, as long as we broke the brick, I don't know that I would want the brick to be a continuous band and then the white to be a continuous band, because that is a different element. I would want at least, if we go white, then I would want the brick to be lower to break it up. This is a different element.
Possible.
I think that can be finalized
Right.
at that committee level.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, keep your blue areas where you got your blue areas on porches and that kind of thing, stair towers or whatever. Keep blue there.
Okay,
And are you asking in this condition for revised renderings as well, or construction drawings? Okay.
construction drawings are fine.
Okay.
Or wall sections.
Sure.
That's your motion. Yeah. Whatever conveys the intent. Fair enough? Yeah. Whatever conveys the intent. If you can do it on a rendering more quickly, you can do it on whatever
Just-
drawing you
Just
choose.
gonna be looking at the permit drawings that are submitted for construction.
Can I ask for a time frame for review? Because we're on such a tight
Sure.
time frame. Could I get a response within 10 business days after we turned it?
We
in?
don't know what the permit time takes, but we'll work within the normal.
Well, I don't,
He
I'd
can-
rather
he can
get
do
it
it.
to you guys.
He'll do it, I would think, before he submits full permit drawings. I mean, if you pulled everything together next week and gave it to us,
Did an end date, so we knew that we could get comments by a certain time, because if we end up changing it again and we're in for permit, like, I don't want
Within
to.
a week.
Yeah, I think with some advanced scheduling, Becca, I'm gonna get it to you next Tuesday. Becca tells us when she's gonna be able to distribute it, and then give us 24 hours, 48 hours. We'll
Yeah.
get counting.
Five business days.
5 business days.
5 business.
We just
5
come to
business
the
days.
office and
Great.
look at it.
30.
Yeah, I would assume you would do that before permit drawings. So we can look at it, yes, go with that, revise the drawings finally, and then submit for permitting.
Yeah, we're so close that it won't take us long to update
Yeah.
this. With the 4th next week, it's probably the week after, but we can send it to Becca and she can get it, and then.
Yep.
Right.
All right, so one of the conditions is submit back to a committee of DRB.
Well, it might be easier just to do the renderings then.
It's up to him.
Huh?
It's up to him.
Yeah, it's up to you, whichever.
However you can convey the information. All right,
I think it's
that was the first
sidewalk
and second.
along.
Yeah, which will work at sidewalk will be worked out with staff.
Okay.
All right, so we had a first and did we have a second?
We did not.
Okay. So, and you were okay with all the,
Yeah.
so is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty, thank you.
Can we get a list of conditions? Is that like be able to address those when we receive?
I am out of the office.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Becky, do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right,
Uh,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's go. All right.
Hey.